Mr. Ziggy.
Man,
How
what's
you doing,
good,
dude?
bro? What's going on, man? How's everything?
Yeah, it's all good. How's about yourself?
I'm always good, bro. Even when I'm not doing good, I'm doing good.
I don't know what
You know
not
me?
good is.
I don't know what that is either, bro.
You know, this thing called life, it's the fucking blast, isn't it? And you know, even the bad times are good. There used to be a song about that. Even the bad times are good. Soon as I get to you, baby. You know, all this stuff. I don't know, you know, the worst times of my life I've benefited the most from. That's all I can say.
You know what, man? I think the more you get to like more of an understanding, I'd rather say, you get to know about this existence and reality and what we're actually doing here, it just becomes that much more fun. You know what I'm saying? Like most of the things you thought were fun at one point is really nothing compared to what it is that you're experiencing when you start to really like just have little peaks. You get what I'm saying? Just little peaks, and it's just mind blowing, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Without
well,
judgment, of course.
yeah, and the whole thing is that when we start to watch ourselves in all these situations, that's when it becomes really fun. Because if we are entirely wrapped up in our own ego, then we don't know what we are. We don't have any relationship with our higher self and the universe and consciousness en masse and, you know, all these existential philosophical subjects and things. If we don't have an awareness of that, then it can appear to be a pretty shitty place because we feel small and it's all about, oh, poor me. And these are doing this to me and they're doing that to me. Nobody's doing anything to you. You know, we're doing it to ourselves. We this is us. This is what we are. Everybody and everything, it's all us.
Hey, you know what, man? I've actually, it's a good point you brought that up because I've been watching a few of the most recent videos you put up, of course. But there's a lot of, I mean, stuff that I like to build off. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm the type that I like to connect with people for the simple fact that it literally helps me connect certain dots about
Yeah.
certain things that have been on my mind. Because in actuality, I mean, me watching you and having, see, the way I look at it is like this: if I'm gonna talk to somebody, it should always feel like an experience. It shouldn't feel like anything other than that, because everything is an experience. You're in my head and I'm in yours. You know what I'm saying? But it's
Yeah.
basically where, if you study basically how the whole, quantum physics things happen. I mean, we're in water basically. You know what I'm saying? We are look like we're separated, but only through the illusion of the fact that things are vibrating differently. You get what I'm saying? But
Yeah,
other than that,
absolutely.
basically, it's just all about frequency, energy, vibration. And I like the topics you've been getting into about energy and where it goes and how you're manipulating it and whatnot. I saw the most recent video you put out where you work out and or if you have energy bottled up, you need to do something with it, or it's gonna do some. I want you to touch up on that because I actually like those type of topics, but also topics on mycology and or whatever you want to get into. You know what I'm saying? But I definitely want to get into different avenues with you because I definitely want to pick your brain, and I definitely want to put some my 2 cents in to see if we could build off and kind of get more out of what we're at the moment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, prior to us just speaking this time, I was flicking through your channel to see if there's any subjects that I wanted to broach with you, and I see that you have you know, had an out of body experience, and then you concentrate a lot on your health and diet and all these sorts of things, and then of course there's the old CV thing going around and all that. So there's only one subject that I have in mind that I'd like to get your perspective from, because I like to gather other people's perspectives from around the world so I can get more of a feel for it, you know, and that's on where do you think the world is really heading with the manipulation. So we can do that later, but we can chip off some of the nicer philosophical subjects first. But
Right.
at least probably for the second hour or something, I'd like to look at what you and what your immediate people, all the people that you know around you, where do you think they think the world is going, or don't they ever give it a second thought, or you know, all this sort of thing, because very, very strange things are happening.
Mm-hmm.
And when you know what's happening, then you can see where we're going. Because, I mean, it's all there. It's all been written, it's all been posted, that they've not hidden anything. You know, Agenda 21, Protocols of Zion, New World Order, and all of this stuff, it's all been written a long, long time ago. And so if you are familiar with that, then you know where the world's going. If you aren't familiar with that, then you're just being led by CNN or what the fuck, or, you know, this sort of thing. So we can talk about that in the second part. But yeah, I love the whole philosophical facet. And so anything that you want me to enlarge upon, I love that, you see, because for me, philosophy is my greatest interest, and it's the most amazing of subjects, because it's absolutely endless. And my greatest bone of contention, you know, you'll no doubt be aware from all of my rants, is that I can't get anybody to communicate with me really in this philosophical way. People that have given it a lot of thought and, you know, have read an enormous amount on it and all this sort of thing. And so, yeah, I mean, I'd love the opportunity to expand on stuff and listen to your perspective.
Well, here's where I want to start off with. Like, for example, like health. When I've been talking about health, in my perspective, starts in your head. You get what I'm saying? Because if you're not mentally healthy, I don't care how healthy you're eating, it ain't gonna do anything for you, because it's all about the vibration and state of being that you're in when you're even ingesting that food to begin with. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
people, the first thing that happens is people judge what they're putting into their body, not knowing that it's a vibrational state of being that you're in. And if you feel guilty or bad about what you're actually going to be ingesting, it's like as within, so without, in my opinion, because I put this to the test myself, where it's a frequency match to whatever your state of being is at the current moment. Because I can eat something healthy, and if my vibration is low, it could bring me up. But if I'm feeling good and then I'm eating something that's bad, based on how I'm judging that food, it's going to do something bad to me. This is why the whole debate with meat eaters and vegans and all that, I think it's nonsense, because at the end of the day, they have their perspective. That's their what. Like, when you spoke about where the world is heading, I always ask first, what is the world first? You know what I'm saying? I'm never going to be able to leave this world unless I die. You know what I'm saying? But if I go outside of my world, I'm outside of myself to begin with, but I'm trying to figure out how this world operates first by knowing where I'm at first. Because a lot of people live in their heads. And I notice the difference between when I'm living in my head and when I'm living in other places of my body. There's certain places in your body that are a little more alkaline, more base, more acidic. You know what I'm saying? And it depends on the state of being you're at. Where you're traveling this universe, you're going to feel a certain way. You know what I'm saying? And if you live in your head, that's basically where people talk about the flat earth. You know what I'm saying? I've talked about that in one of my videos. You got the dome. Just look at how the neurons. You ever hear somebody say, man, I know some people who get brain fog, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you start to look at that, that's equivalent. The way I look at that is like you're looking up at the sky and there's a cloudy sky. You cannot see the sun. You can't see the moon. You can't see the stars. You can't see anything. It's kind of foggy. That's how, if you're living here, right, and you have the pineal gland, which is basically the masculine gland, that's considered to me the sun. Look at how the cycles work. And then you have the moon, which is the pituitary gland responsible for growth hormone. Now, you can only see one side of the moon at all times, regardless of how it rotates, how everything. But think about that, though. If the pituitary gland is a certain position in your dome and you can't leave the earth to see the other side, then how do you think you're going to be able to see? That's why people say, I got eyes behind the back of my head. It's kind of like where you change because everything is a consciousness shift. That's why I said, if I'm going to have a conversation with you, because I've noticed that I've had different conversations with certain people, it's about having an experience. If I'm living my life and I'm having an experience, then that means that the people that are in my experience are also my experience, because they're me pushed out of me. You get what I'm saying? So that's why when I start to ask, like, the government, I always look at it and I start to look at it from the root cause of things. And I've got all these realizations, believe it or not, from just gardening. That's why sometimes when you are at a state of being where you got too much on your mind, just keeping your mind focused on one thing, everything else happens to fall off. Like parasites that are not getting fed in your system, once you starve them, they leave. You know what I'm saying? So when you start to focus on one thing and do it with a passion and something that you like, you kind of clear the skies out a little bit and you start to see different things about yourself through other people, which is why they say God will express themselves through their creation. The creation is what you are, the source, and is presenting itself to you outside of you. So when I say, and I'll touch upon the question you asked me, I don't want to hijack the thing, but I just want to clear this part out. Like the people who I am experiencing in my reality or an experience that let's say if I'm doing some type of work on myself, I'm going to start getting presented with certain things and scenarios based on the intent that I have to fix myself, which is basically fix the inner demons about me, the darker aspects of myself. It's going to start to be now presented through people. Now, the thing is that, let's say if I am presented with somebody who's a mogul or some idiot who I think is like so asleep and a zombie or whatnot, right? I look at that as an aspect or a version of myself, because you said a really good point in one of your videos. There was a female who talked to you about how you were talking to people, and you know what I'm saying? And I thought those were excellent points, but that's because there was an aspect of you through her that let you know something that that made better your experience with other people in your reality. So if I ask myself, where's the world going? It's going wherever I feel like it going. I'm going to have people do what I want them to do based on how I manage my business here, and then project it out toward how I'm managing my business outside of myself from a neutral standpoint. Because think about it, everything you're receiving is information. When you eat something, you could have alkaline food that would basically favor more of the base neutral. Like you ever hear somebody say, I'm in home base? Home
Hmm.
base is basically base, neutral, natural. If you start to change the vowels around and how the words actually interact with each other. But when you have more of an acidic, or it's more inflammatory. But then when you have a more alkaline, it's like a cooler. It's all based on temperaments and whatnot. But if I'm experiencing certain people who are at a certain position, and I look at them as a certain version of myself, I'm not gonna try to teach them something to uplift them. In other words, I'm going to put them in a position of power to begin with, to have them feel that they have the same capabilities that I would have. Rather, like for example, there was this guy who was telling me he was actually overweight, and he was telling me about certain things that he's experiencing, because he's also getting into spirituality and whatnot. He was asking me questions, but the way I look at it is, I told him, bro, listen, I'm not any better than you. You are literally me, and I'm you, in the sense where what I know, you already know. You manifested me into your reality for me to tell you this, because this is you talking to yourself. You get what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
it's an experience. So once I put him in the driver's seat, he starts to feel that sense of empowerment. It's like a motivating, because when you motivate, it's like you're moving energy. But if you're putting yourself in a position where you're talking at somebody, but you're looking down at them and you're telling them, hey, you need to be up in this position, it's like a different way of doing it, where you just give them that sense of security that they're in the same boat. They're just not aware of it. And they did something to manifest me into their reality, to give them that perspective of what it is that they need to know. Because I'm not teaching them everything. They already know this because they manifested me into their reality, which is basically the whole law of attraction, how, push, pull energy and, whatnot. But when you're in harmony, you'll attract certain people that, even though regardless of the position they're in, they're still showing you something. Because I open up through certain realizations of me teaching them, not teaching them, but letting them know something that they already know. I really start to be like, man, because you go into a flow, you know what I'm saying? And when you go into a flow, it's kind of like a river. You start getting all these things coming at you. But again, if you're at a good vibration, you're going to get high vibrational thoughts. If you're in a low vibration, you get low vibrational thoughts. It's just the way it is. You're the one in charge. You're the conductor. You get what I'm saying? So it's basically like you stay in a certain flow, or you could detour and channel to different places. You get what I'm saying? I hope that
Hmm.
answers everything that you asked me, because it was kind of like something I wanted to explain toward what you just asked me before. So I'll let you pretty much go in on that one. So
Yeah, because you see, when we look at what this thing is, there's many levels, and
right,
so I look at what I am and what this is from many a tiered level, and when we engage with a certain somebody, then we have to discern very quickly what level they are speaking from,
right,
and so then. Like a wizard, then you will assume somebody who interacts with that person on the same level, um, without speaking down, or without passing yourself off as a guru. You see, people, they write to me and they ask me questions about what they should do. And I'm like, you should do whatever you feel like doing. I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you what to eat. I can't tell you how to train. We're all, different in a certain respect, and we all function different, and different things work for us, you see. And
mhm,
so what I say to people is lose the concept of looking for a guru to tell you what they think you should do. You've got to
right,
work out yourself what you should do. And so you listen to people, and then you try things, and then you see what works, because this thing is trial and error. So in relation to the diet, and I've tried many diets.
Hold on, before you get into the diet, I just want to touch up on what you just said. See, the thing is, that's why I said it's nothing that I'm teaching them. They already know this stuff. So if they did the work on themselves, they can have, because it's about a realization. It's not about, see, you see the word know and knowledge. You know what I'm saying? It's like you connect everything from what you read. What it's like you say research outside of you. You're researching, like you're doing it again, but you basically have a realization or a knowing. Once you start to basically project it out, it's going to present itself to you, and it's about you basically being able to decipher that, which may mean something to me and nothing to you. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That's why it's better to let them know that it's all about them. They do the work, and about uh let's say dumbing down the information for people. You get what I'm saying? Like based on the frequency. I don't believe in dumbing anything down, because at the end of the day, if let's say I'm a college professor, I'm at a certain level, I'm going to teach college students, but I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like I understand, like if you need to simplify things for certain people, it's different. But let's say somebody says you use long words or dumbing things down. I don't know, for some reason it's never resonated with me, because it's more at the end of the day, like it's either I bring myself down or you can bring yourself up to this level, if anything. You know what I'm saying? What do you think
Exactly.
about that?
Yeah, because there's been several of my viewers say that I use too many long words, too many big words, and I'm like, well, y- how can anybody use too many ways of expressing themselves?
Right.
You see, instead of saying to yourself that another person uses too many big words that you don't know, well, why don't you write these words down and then look them up on Google Dictionary? Pause the video, look it up on the dictionary, and then you'll have a greater understanding of what I've been conveying. Because if I dumb it down, I mean, where does it end? There's some pretty
Right.
dumb people on this planet, and so you just speak in two syllables, like President Trump. He's dumbed it down for the lowest denomination. Whereas Obama, is more of an intellect, and he would speak more eloquently. But the vast majority of presidents, you'll notice, they speak in a very, very prose language, a very base language, and
Right.
they don't use any words longer than about 3 syllables, because they know the vast majority of the American public are not going to be grasping it. And so I will never bring my dumbing myself down, because there's no point. I want to raise people up. I don't want to go
Right.
down to their level. That's
Exactly.
ridiculous. If people are looking at my videos, then I'd like to think they're looking at them because they think they can learn something. And when they hear a new word, if they decide that they want to know what that word is, simple. You see, for years, when I was reading philosophy and psychology, in those books, you have a lot of esoteric language. And so I used to keep a pad and a dictionary next to my bed, and I had hundreds and hundreds of words over, say, like a year. And I used to sit at the end of the night reading 200 words, reciting them over and over again until I remembered them. And if I couldn't grasp them, I'd look in the dictionary to see what it was again. Then I'd close the dictionary, and then I'd do that again. And so over years, my vocabulary has increased. And when I hear a word that I don't know, I pause the video immediately and I go,
Yeah.
well, that's a new one. What does that mean? That's fucking brilliant. And so, we just have to express ourselves in the energy that we are. Now, the thing
Well,
is
think about
about,
it.
sorry.
If the words are in the English language, because everything's a tool. So if they're in the English language, it's for you. Think about what it does to you subconsciously if you're not willing to learn a new word. How does that trickle down into everything else in your life? You're
Well,
not willing to learn
yeah,
anything
I
else.
mean, it just
It's a
means that
tool.
we're going to
And
be stagnating and we're never going to
right.
learn anything. And
Think
this
about
is
it, trickles down into everything. And
uh,
that's why, like, people say words are spells, but if you have a better understanding or understanding or overstanding, however you want to look at it, of these words, you can use them to your advantage. And with awareness, you don't, these words cannot be used against you, because you understand a deep meaning of what the root word means and where it even came from, or why it's even in the English language. Because a lot of them derive from different, let's say Latin or Germanic, but everything's a tool. So if I'm able to use a word in my sentences that I didn't know as a tool, then yeah, I'm going to take the responsibility and take the accountability to use it as a tool. And then it'll trickle down into everything, because I'm open-minded toward all the words that are in the English language that I can use as a tool to express myself. Because we already say that the language is limited and bastardized. But if we learn new words, we look at that as a bad thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and this is the difference between people that want to learn and those that don't. And, we
Exactly.
are the variety that do want to learn and teach at the same time. And the vast majority of people that don't want to learn and don't have anything to teach. And so when you speak about you can't impart something to somebody, tell them what to do because they already know it. Exactly, we are all an expression of the same God consciousness, and it is only down to I would think how open your mind is, because if your mind is open, then your mind is like a sponge and it will receive everything. And when you listen
Absolutely.
to children when they're very, very young, it's amazing. This is they're a beautiful expression of pure God consciousness, unconstrained and uninhibited, and not poisoned. And so
Mhm.
they pick on things very, very quickly, and they're always inquiring, inquiring, inquiring. But by the time we've gone through the Prussian indoctrination system, people stop inquiring. They just follow and they just repeat. And so this is the whole thing about the whole education indoctrination system. You have a criteria, and there is only so much to learn, and that's what you're supposed to learn. There's only one page to read from, and if you read from any other pages, then you get thrown out university or you get ridiculed and all this sort of thing. And that's what they've done over this past 100 years, and that's why the world's in such a state.
Right.
And so when we look then at the differences between the human being, I can only conclude really that there is certain creatures that have more of a free mind, and that there's others that don't. And now I look at my history, and I can see a reason why my mind could be different to other people. And that's because I speak about being thrown out of the nest, my mother, departing this life when I was 4 and I was going into children's homes, and I never had a standardization. They couldn't standardize me. You see, I was in and out of children's homes. I was in and out of schools, not long enough, and I would rebel against every single one, and I would get expelled. So they never had my attention for more than about 5 minutes. So they couldn't hypnotize me. So I'm not hypnotizable, and I know that now because being a hypnotist, when we was doing the training of it, I'm not susceptible to that in any shape or form. That's why people like us, we see the world for what it is, because we're
I'm
not
also a
susceptible.
hypnotist,
Oh, are
which
you?
I could I resonate. Yeah, I'm a hypnotist also. Um, Here's what's funny though is like I've mentioned this in my videos also. When you have an open mind, I consider it because it's like an open hand. You know what I'm saying? You're able to give, but you're open to receiving as well. There's always going to be people who are closed minded, and as I said, law of attraction. There's certain things presented to you. If you have an open mind, you can process it, and if it doesn't serve you, you just throw it out like waste. You know what I'm saying? That's the reason why I'm going to get into exercise also later on in the video if you want to, and why I even exercise or why I even do certain things that that I normally I did differently back then. You know what I'm saying? But when you have an open mind, it's like kind of like two people when they're closed minded. That's the reason why there's a verse. You know what I'm saying? Like, how can you have a conversation? Like, you see the word converse, universe, multiverse. If you have a verse, we're playing a song right now. We're singing with each other right now. So con in the Latin means with. So we're having a verse. We're versing, but not verses. We're doing a converse, like a communion. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So that's why you're able with open hands. I can build, but with two closed hands, I can't build anything. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I
Mhm.
think the people ask me, well, how do you acquire certain to get to a certain level mentally or whatnot? It's just basically maintaining an open mind. Only because what you're experiencing, you can manifest these things into your reality consciously or unconsciously, but that's on you, or it could be in you. Is there's a difference between those two things also? So yeah, I just wanted to pretty much chime in on that on what you said, bro.
Yeah, and so over this, past 10 years, I've been in the realm of philosophy and psychoanalysis and all that sort of thing, and so incessantly reading of what other intellectuals have said in the past about what the human being is and how the mind works and all this sort of thing, and what I've always done in my life is I've had many, many experiences. And you see, we're very similar in lots of respects, but one of the respects that we're similar in that you test things. Like recently, you've been doing the urine therapy thing. Well, I did 6 weeks on urine therapy. And then I did 7 days on a water fast. And then I've tried a whole myriad of different diets and everything. And I've looked at the body and I've looked at the mind and I've assessed if there's been any changes. And I can tell you now, honest to goodness, there hasn't been a single change in my state of mind or my state of health in relation to anything that I've eaten. And so I've always eaten what I've wanted to. I've it's enormous amounts of chocolate and sugar in my life, but I've also done an enormous amount of training. I've always been in a very, very tip-top physical condition, and I've monitored it from one day to the next, just like you do. And so when you see yourself, going a little bit one way, then you bring it back. And so this is it. We sculpt to the body, we sculpt to the mind. And when we look at our minds and we assess the mind, then we can see that this thing called the ego is just the program. And what is it really? What are you and what am I? We're only a product of the accumulation of all the experiences that we've ever had. That's all we are. And so when people want to belittle other people or talk down to them, or uh, go off on one like that, then they have to remember that it's only due to their circumstances, and it isn't anything particular that they've done. And you see, people can say, well, I know more about you than science because I've got a PhD in science. Well, it's because you've got a PhD in science that you know more probably about most people in relation to that, because that's the path you've traveled. And so other people have traveled other paths and they know more about other stuff than you. Okay. And so this is how it is, isn't it? We've all traveled on different trajectories. And so if we are all 50 years old, then we've all got 50 years of experience, which is valid in some shape or form. And so this is the whole thing about knowing what we are, knowing what we consist of, and being able to access all of these varying energies that we've had. You see, the way I see it is that we don't just have one variety of spirit like they've told us, because many people have discovered that there's multifacets of spirits in here. And I will claim that I'm a very multifaceted person. And I believe we gather up spirits in the varieties of additional personalities as we go through life. For instance, I play the guitar and I sing, I do karate and I do scuba diving, I climb mountains and I do all this sort of thing. All these things pertain to a very, very particular energy. And you see, the karate guy, that used to be very, very much in the forefront of me when I was young. Now it's pretty well almost at the back. But if I get attacked in the street, then this multifaceted diamond will turn around to face that facet towards the exterior, and I will present my karate guy to the world. And so that is a certain spirit. It's a very, very high energy, potentially very aggressive, and dangerous facet if required. But you see, that facet isn't needed when I go to the shop, and it isn't needed in a love affair or anything like this. So then it goes to the back. And so we can see then when people want to make it very, very dull and uninspiring, they'll say, oh, that's just your personality. Your personality consists of all these different things. Well, no, that doesn't. You could toss it off as being so mundane like that. You can toss off the spiritual experience as being a fantasy and a fiction of the mind. But anybody that's really had a spiritual experience will say to you that it is more real than this fucked up bullshit here. And so when we extend our consciousness into varying realms of philosophy and spirituality, then we get in touch with different dimensions. And we know that there are many worlds, like many people speak about many worlds, particularly Rupert Steiner, many worlds, many spirits, many varieties of beings, and all this sort of thing. So when we know that we are a whole multitude of beings, then we decide which one we want to utilize and call up on any given occasion. And so when you do that, it's like being a plumber. You go to a job and you've got all the tools in your bag to do your plumbing work. But also, if you broaden your horizons and you also can do carpentry, then you've got carpentry tools as well, you see. And then if you learn about another particular trade, then you've got those tools and you carry those with you. So if somebody's got a van and someone says, I need a plumber. Are you a plumber? One of the things I can do is plumbing. Well, are you a plumber? One of the things I can do is plumbing. I don't define myself by being a plumber. I'm many things. I can do many things. So if you want me to fix your pipes, I can fix your pipes. If you want me to fix your computer, I can fix your computer. If you want me to grow you some vegetables or show you how to do it, I can also do that. So what am I? I'm a multifaceted diamond experiencing what it is to be a human being.
Aaron, so what do you think one of the main reasons why we are here, like as far as what is the most important thing that we need to protect or basically embark in while we're here? You know what I'm saying? The reason I ask this is because there's so many different things that you can get into. You know what I'm saying? But the
Yeah.
same way, it's all energy. But
Yes.
the thing is where are you channeling it? You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because for me,
Exactly. Very good question. You see,
Mhm.
I've done many, many things in my life. I've been around the world to many countries and I've experienced an enormous amount. And so I am a multifaceted person with a very broad experience. So if somebody said to me, well, what's the secret of life? I would say absolutely none of that.
Mhm.
None of that, because I found something which is vastly more important and satiating and real. And it gives me such a deep root sense of achievement and being. And that's when I become absolutely still. When I'm not thinking, when I'm not doing nothing, I just am in touch with my pure essence, which is
Right.
God consciousness, which is my being, which is everything, the universe. So I think it's like Socrates said, to know thyself. It isn't about achieving anything in any shape or form. It's about discovering that thing, which I consider is enlightenment. When
Right.
you discover that you are pure God consciousness and you are dreaming this up along with everybody else is dreaming it, and so it's just idealism by way of philosophy. Everybody has an idea. The whole world is created by ideas. That car you're sitting in is an idea. This chair I'm sitting in is an idea. The microphone, the computer, everything is an idea. And so we have done what God was supposed to have done in 6 days. We have created the world.
Right. So as soon as we come into the world, are you agreeing that we're already on the road to dying?
Well, I don't think the concept of dying has any validity. Because it's all part of the illusion.
Exactly.
We are here in a physical form, and then we vacate in a physical form. But the actual essence of what we are, that doesn't vacate, and there's so many testimonies of that, isn't there? And when you have an out of body experience, you see, the first time I had an out of body experience and my consciousness left my body, well, I from that moment on, I said that I will never doubt anything about the paranormal, about the mystical and the magical, because that was the most bizarre event that I've ever had in my life. That my consciousness left my body,
Right.
and I was completely aware, just as I was aware when I'm inside the body. Only I'm in a different dimension of space and time.
Well, this is the reason I asked that, because you see, like you said before, those who've had a real spiritual experience would know that uh, whatever is outside of this space and time is more real than we're actually experiencing right now. So basically, when you look at science, religion, anything you want to look at it as, the biggest fear that humanity has is death. But I feel like it's because of how it's compartmentalized. It's a lack of understanding of how that even what that even is. You get what I'm saying? Because you could look at it, you could look at death as basically, like you said, the same way you come in, you leave the exact same way. You leave with nothing. So you leave with everything basically unattached to you. But let's say what likes to hold on to things, the ego. You get what I'm saying? There's where the true concept of love, of where I'm talking about, like when you ever hear the saying, like if it's true love, you let it go. If it's meant to be, it'll come back. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not attached to anything. The same way when the ego holds on to something, it's equivalent to the ego just be when it doesn't understand, it's because the ego is basically, you use the ego here as a tool as well. But when you know what you are, you don't let the ego be the master. I feel like it's like you're the some people like literally let the ego be the master, and they become the slave, which means they fall into pretty much any urges or desires and whatnot. Which the reason I say this is because, like happiness, for example, is true happiness having material stuff, because people then, it's like, to me, it's a short game. You get what I'm saying? So if they're feeling happy because they acquired something physical, it's equivalent to me telling you that's borrowed energy. For example, if I give you a stimulant, you're going to get a high, but then what happens? You get a crash. You get what I'm saying? So now when I talk about neutral, base, and stuff like that, because acidity is more geared toward death, and then base is geared more toward life. If one can understand what even death is, you can appreciate the value of what you're here to do and as a living being is. You get what I'm saying? Because you're just being a living being, a human being. You're just doing it.
So what is it that you think we're here to do?
All right, so here's what I was going to get to. So let's say, for example, you find the true happiness within you on what that really is, rather than like we talk about energy. You talk a lot about energy. You're feeling energy all the time. How does that work? How can you explain to somebody how to be exactly like you? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Me, for example, I feel like this is why I talk about Wolverine all the time. The key is recovery. When you get older, the first thing that goes is your ability to recover from anything. Let's say muscle pains, you're processing information, you're able to retain memory of it, because that's why people can't process it, because they lose the memory of it. Food is information. They lose the ability to process that food. They start gaining weight. You get what I'm saying? So what stores in fat cells? Toxins. Now, when you detox or exercise, you're literally detoxing at the same time. You get what I'm saying? When you sleep, you're detoxing. The energy is going somewhere. That's energy that the body is utilizing to always get back to homeostasis, right? Us during the day, we do stupid things to get our attention into things that either drain us, and then we have to feel like we have to rest more. That's why people feel like they need to sleep so much, or because when you're sick, you need to sleep more. And sleep to me is the cousin of death. You get what I'm saying? So if you're sick, what do? You rest. You don't eat, you sleep, and you sleep off your fevers or whatnot. And you feel like that's what you want to do. It's not like you force yourself to do it, right? So let's say, for example, somebody feels like they have to have 8 hours of sleep, but then they're in the bed for 10 hours and they still feel like they haven't had a good night rest. That's because they're trying to recover from garbage that they either have processed mentally, spiritually, or even physically in the form of food. You get what I'm saying? Because there's an energy, frequency, and vibration. And if there's no harmony, right, within the food, the information as food or anything that you may be processing, it's like if you talk to me right now and you offend me and I'm in my ego, what does the ego do? Hold on to shit. So now I'm going to hold a grudge against you. What does that do? That makes my heart heavy. You get what I'm saying? It's going to make my spirit heavy. So what happens when you eat food that the body is not in harmony with that food, because it's not processing it as something that's natural or organic, it's something foreign? The body starts to react in certain ways where it changes the chemistry, because everything's chemistry out here. It starts to store fat. And when you store fat, you're storing toxins. So that's what the body does. That's what the ego does. But when you're conscious of what you're processing, because that's why people say, you don't understand. Okay, let me break it down for you. You could break it down for them if you want to, but you could just let it be, because it's up to you to know if you want to waste your energy on that person breaking it down, because they may still not be able to process it. You get what I'm saying? But the death part, I feel like the energy and focus, if look at the Egyptians, how they always they lived, but they were preparing to die. You get what I'm saying? They were preparing. Everything with them was all about the afterlife. But what is that? If I'm in my now moment, right, and I know that I'm here to experience something and gain something out of this reality, but then in my death, I'm supposed to have another body to walk into, such as a doppelganger. If I'm going into meditation, right, because I've been doing this, you know what I'm saying? And this is why I feel like focus is very, very important to exercise here as a focus muscle, because that's a muscle too. You go to the gym, you work out to make your muscle stronger. But a lot of people think it's all physical, but they don't really focus on the meditation part. That's why when they meditate, sometimes they get all these thoughts in their head, and there's not about suppressing them. It's literally about just not getting into it, but just observing them and swiping them to the right or to the left, however way you want to do it, through focus. And then eventually you go into a zero zone, like you go into a no space, like you go into no time, no space. Because I've been into meditations where I feel like I'm there for 4 or 5 hours and only 15 minutes pass by. You get what I'm saying? So it's like it was an experience that I was not of. I was outside of space and time, and I perceived it a certain way from the physical body. But in my true space or form, it felt like that because I was not of this time anymore. You get what I'm saying? So I've had those experiences. And let's say, for example, if I'm eating something and I'm going to eat it, then I'm going to be aware of what it is that I'm eating with no guilt, because I know that I can process it as, I am a food processor. You get what I'm saying? But if my systems are not up to par, am I going to, let's say if I'm unhealthy because I've made unhealthy choices throughout my life unconsciously, and I got to a diseased state based on all the programming that I've been told what a disease is, because diseases really don't even exist, then that means that I cannot eat the same way that that person eats. I would have to take the accountability and responsibility, because the first thing people do is, I got to go to a doctor. Instead of saying, how can I fix this? They can fix their problems by literally knowing their systems that they have. Literally such systems like the lymphatic system, endocrine system, which is very important to have a healthy endocrine system, which basically impacts the rest of your body as a man. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you get to a more mature age. But if you start to understand these systems and how everything is tied in as a blueprint outside, basically the government, the system is all made in the image of man. You know what I'm saying? Or they say God is made in the man was made in the image of God. It all connects. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm sorry for going on a rant, bro. Go ahead. I'll let you go in.
So all the things that you've been speaking about, you're speaking about from your humanism, perceiving the world in this fiction. Mm-hmm. And so we can look at that and we can immerse ourselves in as much fiction as we want to. We can immerse ourselves in the science fiction, in the biology fiction, in the chemistry fiction, and all this sort of stuff. At the end of the day, every single bit of it is fiction, and there is no reality here whatsoever. What you've said, you touched on one of the points, which is the true reality. And the true reality is all that's happening here is an exchange of energy. Energy is morphing in and out of matter and energy. And you see this whole E equals MC squared, energy equals mass. It's the same thing. Energy equals mass, you see. So energy is mass. And so that's all that's going on in the whole corporeal universe, which is only, by the way, 4 or 5%. And so there's another 95% of something that's going on that the human being is completely unaware of. And so this 5% that we're supposed to know something of, there is people who know these similar ilks of people, scientists, only these particular people, they're quantum scientists, and they say, well, actually, there is no atoms, there is no molecules, it's only a super probability. And this is what Max Planck says, there is no matter, there's only something which appears to be matter, gauged on the variety of energy which seems to make manifest into some sort of corporality as far as our ego is concerned. And so the whole thing about, what you've been saying is one world, you see, and we can live in that world entirely, and we can believe scientists, and we can believe chemists and biologists, and then when a new paper comes out, it will contravene something that's been said 2 years before. And this is what's always happening with science and physics and chemistry. They're always finding something else, and they always go, oh, we were wrong about this and we're wrong about that. And so what I do is then I look back in the past, what people used to believe. They used to believe this was bad for them. They used to believe that was good for them. And they used to eat lots of this and not much of that. And then it turns around, but that's completely wrong. They'd made mistakes. The figures were wrong and they read them wrong. And so we were living in an illusion. But it suited us because we seem to be getting healthy for eating all this spinach, and we seem to be getting healthy for eating all these eggs. 1 minute eggs is vogue, and the next minute eggs isn't vogue. And then spinach used to be the most iron, and now it's not, because all this sort of stuff. It's all fiction. Every single bit of it is fiction. So I don't buy into any of that. And I know that it's all fiction. And the reason why I know it's fiction is because when you speak about if somebody eats this and they sleep another 2 hours and their body does this and their body does that, in all my life, my body hasn't done nothing. and it's never slept more than, you know, I need to, and generally it's about 7 hours. And it doesn't matter what I eat. I can eat, you know, a huge curry and 2 bottles of wine and all this sort of stuff before I have to go to bed, and I'll sleep like a fucking baby, and I'll still be up the same time the next day, and I'll be feeling just like I did. And so all of this stuff about what we eat, I don't believe there's anything to do with that. What I believe is it's got to do with the program of your mind, which is the motherboard of this illusion. And
Well,
from the cradle to the to the grave, we are programmed, and we're programmed about what we should eat and what we shouldn't eat, and what's going to make us healthy and what's going to make us sick, and all this sort of stuff. And then, of course, every single thing that we get in is a placebo, 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 because depending on whether we believe it or not, then that's going to build our reality. You see, this is a consensus reality. It's built out of a general consensus. And every time they publish something in the newspapers or on the media, it's to get the general consensus. And so what's happened now, this is a classic example. The general consensus is that there's some very, very small particle in the air that's going to fuck you up. It's a complete and utter fabrication through and through. There is no reality to it whatsoever. But you see, people are getting sick, people are getting paranoid, people are dying, people are terrified, and look at the effect. They've built their world. The whole world has built their world on a fiction. You know it's a fiction, Ziggy.
Yeah.
So everything else is a fiction. There is no reality here.
Well, who is to say that we are supposed to be sleeping 8 hours a night? That's also a programming. Because I've had 4 hours of sleep for 3 nights, and I feel more energetic than I ever have. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about, like, even it comes down to the sleeping. It comes down to everything in general as to how everything, it's about how you feel. You know what I'm saying? But the reason I spoke on the resting, over resting, let's say, based on certain things that your body's trying to process or recover from, it's basically coming down to organic or an isolated form of what you're actually ingesting. So for example, if you talked about iron, all right, iron, the iron supplemental form of iron is garbage. That's not something that the body uses. For example, the B12s that they sell in supplement stores is also garbage. That's not natural. That's why the body cannot process that. Not only that, but the foods that we eat cannot recycle the natural source of the certain minerals that we need in our body to actually function on all levels. Now, the reason I say this is because we're nothing but a big bag of bacteria. So the bacteria in our stomach, for example, if we get out of our heads and take the dive, we start to know that all the bacteria that's in our body is what is projecting outside into your reality. It's not just coming from your head. So for example, you have good bacteria, bad bacteria, but the bad bacteria is needed, which is why the assholes that are out in this planet are also needed also for this existence to exist anyway, because it's a duality matrix. Now, if you want to destroy your body, then you're destroying the matrix too, because you're going to die. You're not going to experience it, but does the show really go on? That's the whole thing. If we talk about you're here by yourself, you're the only one. Do you know what will happen outside if you was to, because if you could see it in movies, for example, I watched a Terminator. He cannot self-terminate. He has to, John Connor had to terminate him at the end of the movie, right? I feel like that is a natural law that we have to live by, is making sure that we are going through this existence. That's why they say it's a life sentence. We're basically experiencing this reality and we pass on, but what we do here is what matters in the afterlife or whatever it may be. You know what I'm saying? Without getting into a religious mindset. You get what I'm saying? But whatever it is that I can come down to that I know is going to empower me is the path that I'm going to take. I'm not going to take any path that's going to empower anything outside of me because it is an illusion. You get what I'm saying? So religion, the government, everything is just me. And if I put myself in a victim mode, I am externalizing myself as that being more powerful than me. Now, the bacteria in my stomach tells me what it is that I should be eating and I should not be eating. You get what I'm saying? There's moments where I'm telling you, I made this happened to me last night. I don't know if this has happened to you, but there's moments where you'll feel something in your gut and it's like, it moves you in a way where you're going into a meditation, but your body is kind of preventing it from happening. Like there's something stopping the process from you getting to the next level. And that's all coming from here. But the here is where you're processing it. You process people, you process your information outside of you. So that's why everything outside of you, people that are bad, good, whatever we want to consider bad or good, even the bacteria in our stomach, supposedly we say it's bad bacteria, but why do we still need it there? But we have to compartmentalize it in order to, have a conversation here in this duality matrix. It can't just be the singularity. The singularity, you can't go around saying, I'm God, I'm the That's a realization you have to have. And when you have that realization, others will see that in you. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to. I'm not talking about you, Aaron. I'm just saying for the sake of conversation, like one would walk around and people would see that through them. You get what I'm saying? They don't have to go around telling people how great they are. People are gonna see it because they're gonna shine that it's like you're like a beacon of light. You get what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And as energy, we are attracted to a light. That's why, like, if you look at fourth dimension, to me, fourth dimension is under control through whatever you want to consider outside of you, they. You get what I'm saying? But they is you. It's just that you haven't taken control of that area because people are trying to do it outside of themselves rather than doing it from within. Once you get to that space and know that you are the one that is in charge and running shit there, then nothing can really affect you. That's why when people die, they say, don't go toward the light when you die, or you'll see ancestors that will guide you into the light to reincarnate your goofy ass back in here. You get what I'm saying? Which is why I said that the light that you find is the light that you created through your meditations as your doppelganger. Like, if you don't want to have a human experience, then create a Death Star. They show it in Star Wars. There's a Death Star that's floating around. Anything that comes in, poop, I just zap it in. All with my mind, I could do that. You know what I'm saying? I can make things happen just by sitting down with the comfort of my own home, through my focus muscle that I have strengthened through the meditations and through my inner work. That's doing the work, in my opinion. You get what I'm saying? Not really worrying about if I'm eating, is it doing this? I am the one who should know what it's doing to me based on if I'm gaining weight in my midsection, if I'm feeling a little slow, how am I waking up in the morning? Am I feeling a little bit achy? Am I feeling internal heat? Then I'll know it's like a car. If your car is overheating, you're not going to keep driving it. You're going to stop, add water, or do whatever you need to do. So the body has your internal temperature. Your pineal gland measures your temperament or your temperatures, basically your sleep wake cycle. You know what I'm saying? The pituitary gland, the feminine gland, deals with the growth hormone and how the recovery is going in the body in order for you to go to basically recover from anything that's going on. But a lot of the foods that we eat, it's not about it doing an effect on you. It's sort of just suppressing certain things within you that keeps the energy from moving a certain way because it is not natural, neutral. When I see the word neutral, for example, it's like you're grounding your energy. You can't have an abundant amount of energy and not channel it, or you have a live wire. You have live wires that are going, they're all over the place. You know what I'm saying? When you ground the energy, you could channel that energy. If I have an orgasm, I could channel that energy somewhere, which is basically the most powerful energy that you could basically produce and then emit out or whatever. You know what I'm saying? People have internal orgasms. There's a way to do that. You get what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you still have to have yourself open to some extent so you don't have an implosion. You get what I'm saying? So it's like I've had certain experiences where I've used my energy wisely and not in such a favorable way, and I felt the difference. Having conversations with people could drain you. You get what I'm saying? Only
Yeah.
because of the way they position themselves when they're talking, or maybe it's not even something you're into, but you're forcing yourself there to not make them feel bad. You're still getting drained because you're just not interested in that. So there's nothing you're feeding off of. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like it goes. Go ahead, I'll let you
So,
talk.
so carrying on then, from everything is energy. And
Everything.
when we look at a computer is using energy and it's processing. Our brain is using energy and it's processing. The body is using energy and it's processing. Everything that is organic is using energy and it's processing. Even out in the depths of the cosmos, which we know too little about to make any real assertions, but I'm a great believer in the Hermetic saying "as above, so below," and I don't think there's any difference in the outer extremities of the cosmos as to what we are here, because we are a product of the cosmos. The cosmos has created us, and so we are a mini me of the cosmos, and so when we have experiences with psychedelics, then we can experience the cosmos as it is, out in space and all these crazy things. And, we go, wow, holy Moses, what on earth was that? And so the whole thing is an energy form. And in the depths of quantum physics, then there's a string theory, which, whether we believe that or not, that there's an energy there which is conscious, and out of that conscious energy is produced all of the corporeal world, and it's produced by our consciousness dreaming it into reality. And so what do you feel about this one then? Because when we have a dream, you're right.
Yeah, I just there's a dog in my yard that's not mine. I don't know what the hell they're doing
All
there.
right.
Yeah.
So when we have a dream, um, our consciousness creates a homunculus, a mini me. in our mind, like an avatar. And this avatar is free to do whatever it wants, and it encounters many, many strange things, and it can fly through space, and it can meet aliens, and it can do all this crazy stuff. And then when our consciousness comes back online, then we say, well, that's a dream. That was all inside my head. And so, how do you feel about the belief, the ideology, the philosophy of idealism that you are not in this? You, Ziggy, me, Aaron, we're in consciousness. We are consciousness. We are the expanse of the universe, and we are dreaming our homunculus. So, just like when we go to sleep, that's a mini version of what's happening now. We think we're real and we're navigating through this, and then one day we wake up, and when we wake up, our spirit vacates the body, and we go, oh, that was another dream.
Right.
How do you feel about this is just one dream inside another, inside another, inside another, like Russian dolls?
Well, I mean, here's the thing though. Your body really will not tell the difference between a real or a fake experience. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been, for example, dreaming, and then I realized that I thought I was awake in my dream, and then I wake up again in my dream for some reason. It's like
Yeah,
weird. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So, but throughout each one of those layers, I felt it was real. Because let's say, for example, we're having an experience here. When you watch us, that's why I said it's important to know the condition and state of being you're in before you go to sleep, and it's also important how you die. If you die in a traumatic way, then what do you think is going to happen when you leave? Some people don't even realize that they actually died the moment they die, when it's an impactful, hard, bad death, for example. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But if I go to bed and before I go to bed, I'm watching a scary movie based on the experience and the situation that I was in, because I'm experiencing that movie the same way I told you. I'm having an experience with you right now. If I experience that movie and I go to bed, that's what I immediately went to bed with. You get what I'm saying? That
So
experience.
you create the movie very similar to that, your own movie, yeah?
Exactly. In
Yeah.
my own version, and I'm having the experience now in that realm.
Which is
Because think
also
about it.
very as real as watching it on the screen, because when you watch it on the screen, it's not just on the screen, it's in our bodies, you see, it's in our
Exactly.
minds, it's in our
Exactly.
consciousness. You know, it's
Exactly.
the illusion of it being in the screen, because that's what this whole matrix thing is. And so everything is going on in consciousness. And so when we have a psychedelic experience, when we have a dream and a nightmare, and any other consciousness experience, we are always there, and it is real. Whatever it is, whether it's out of body or whether it's a dream or whether it's a psychedelic, we are always there, and
Right.
it's happening. And
Right.
so when we go into other worlds through psychedelics, and then we open our eyes and we gain our consciousness back, and we go, holy Moses, you won't believe what I just fucking, where I went. Well, I mean, that then bolsters the belief system that this is all Maya. And so
Right.
this is why the Buddhists of settled on this ideology and philosophy over thousands of years of watching themselves. And you see, thousands of years ago, people were much more able to watch themselves than we are today. Now, because we're so detached from ourselves, whereas before we were absolutely in tune with ourselves because we never had the distractions, did we?
Right.
And
Well,
so
let me
that's
ask
when they.
you, I want to ask you this though. You notice how when you're in that realm, let's say, you don't notice that when just with a thought, things manifest in that space as soon as you think about it. But it's the same thing here, for example. In your third realm, you've already manifested it, except since we're bound by time in a linear time space, right? It's going to take time for that to manifest into our reality because we have to become a frequency match to that we thought of. You notice how before you went to bed, not you, but I'm saying before you go to bed and then uh you're having an experience where you're watching the movie. That's the point of consciousness and awareness, in my opinion, is basically letting yourself know that this is not a real experience, because there's people who experience the movie and they're feeling an emotion, such a strong emotion, that before they go to bed, they manifest it in that space right away to actually have a dream about it in that now moment that they're in.
Mhm.
So if I'm experiencing something now, right, it's already manifested, but it takes time. The only thing is that throughout that little timeline, there's going to be obstacles that may change our path to that destination, and we may take a detour based on an experience that we fell into. You get what I'm saying? Which is why the focus part and the awareness and consciousness is important, so that we in this reality can manifest what it is that we actually want. But that's why I even tie it into that just you living that emotion and that experience, and you go into that space, you manifest that right away. You get what I'm saying? Which is why sometimes I feel like it's very important to realize that when you die, it is important to live a life that you desire here. You get what I'm saying? You notice that, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but do you notice how you work so hard on something and then you go to sleep and you feel like you're still doing it? Or you work many hours in a job and then all of a sudden you go to bed and you're still dreaming that you're doing it? I feel like everything you're doing here is like a spiritual training to some extent. And it's to some extent. Now,
Yeah.
there's not, I'm not saying this is fact. I'm asking you because this is actually things that I've experienced. So I'm thinking how important it is to do what it is that you desire here and not do things that you don't want to do. Because at the end of the day, like I told you, I may be speaking to somebody. If I'm not into the conversation and I'm just there just to not make them feel bad, I'm not being authentic with myself. I'm not being honest with myself, meaning I'm not being honest with them. Because I can straight up tell them, hey, man, I'm not interested in talking about this with you. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not into this. And then I can cut and I just protected my energies. Now, people go to work because they feel they have to. So that's an energy drain. Not only did they sell themselves for a certain amount of money, but it's also a spiritual drain. Because then why do you think certain people can't even go into a meditation without falling asleep or without being able to focus on building their doppelgangers? Because their attention is on fucked up relationships, fucked up situations in their life, but it's all based on the situations and positions that they put themselves in there at that moment. That's why I
Yes.
say knowing yourself is very important before you engage in anything, because then you can know how to energy manipulate and channel this shit
Okay.
to your advantage. Like, you have something in your mind, what do? You put it on video, right?
Yeah.
So you have your channel and then you broadcast it, because I can make a podcast. My podcast is my world. You invited me into your podcast, into this show, right? So you invited me into your world. I'm a guest in your house right now, but I'm in your world and we're building. We're having a converse. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And go ahead. I'll let you talk because I just kind of lost what I was going to say. I knew you were trying to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think maybe you're alluding to is, and this is getting into what we were speaking about before. What's the purpose here? Now, when we look at how you say, well, if you engage with somebody and you don't want to engage with this person, you can feel your energy being drained. Well, that's what's going on from the cradle to the birth.
Right.
Everybody is vying for our energy. It seems to me the most important thing in this universe is human energy. At
Attention.
least in our dimension, energy, of course, is all that there is. But our variety of energy, we are having this energy form experience, and the world's full of succubuses. And whether you call it the Illuminati or all those cronies that manipulators and make us wear masks and extract our energy through forced labor and all this sort of thing, they are like vampires extracting our energy. And so, what I've done in this past 14 years, I've emancipated myself from all of that. And through this time, then I've become more and more in touch with my energy. And then, like I said to you early on in the conversation, the main secret or purpose, I can't say whether there's any philosophical purpose, because I think that's a too big a question. All I can say to you is what I feel. And when I feel the most purposeful, when I feel like I am the universe, I am God consciousness, and this is all my dream, when I feel that, when I seem to know that, that's when I think I've got the answer. And all the rest of it pales into insignificance, and it's completely a load of rubbish, unless, of course, you want to engage in the fiction of the dream, and you want to imagine that you're surfing, you want to imagine that you're climbing a mountain, you want to imagine that you're in love with a beautiful woman, because it all is fiction. When you look at the rudimentaries of the body, there's nothing here. It's all just mind. And so I think that this dimension, then, if there's a purpose to it at all, it's to find yourself, because you are God. God, us, I, you, me, we're the same thing. We've broken ourselves down into 7 billion shards, and we've scattered ourselves all over this globe to have varying experiences and to see if we can find our way home. And
Right.
if we can stop ourselves from being distracted, then that's when we're going to find the home. You see, the whole purpose of this world is to distract you out of your God consciousness. And it's kind of like it's a game. It's not a malicious game. It's a trick, but it's not a malicious game, because when you die and you go back to source, I can't help thinking that the main body of you, what's there, even you could be separated into, you know, a million different shards, so we can have a conversation, because this is fun. It's no fun on your own. If this is why consciousness has done this, apparently.
Right.
And so if it breaks it down into different facets of this, because you're a facet of me, Ziggy, you know, this is why we're speaking now, because we are each other. Otherwise, we wouldn't entertain each other. And so I'm getting in touch with myself via you, and you are me. And so it's a wonderful thing, and it's a more bonding thing. And I'm realizing by talking to
sorry,
you.
let me cut in. It's actually important to keep the ego aside to be able to actually have that authentic connection. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because sometimes when the ego is involved, it's harder to get through that real heart-to-heart space. That's why they say heart-to-heart space, base. That's neutral. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And so as a philosopher, then this is what we do, because we cannot be philosophers if we are ego bound, because that is such a restrictive parameter of way of looking at the world. And so when we step outside, and you see, nobody can kill the ego, nobody can lose the ego, because the ego is the operating system. This is what gives us this existence here. It's the so-called me. Yes, Aaron, you know, I like this and I don't like that, because without that, then we couldn't have this experience. But you see, when you get in touch, when you and you know, the semantics about it is outside of language, because it doesn't make sense. When I've tried to speak about it too many occasions, and I go, well, what is I know that there's a whole myriad of so-called I's in here, and which one is me? I could say this one's me now, but tomorrow I will give off another energy and I will swear that one's me, and then the next day I'll be a completely different person, and people look at me and go, he's schizophrenic, this guy. Sometimes he's really passionate about nature and he seems like a real nice, loving guy. And then he's the most belligerent, aggressive, egotistical motherfucker. Who is this guy? This guy isn't anybody per se. This guy is just an experience. But because my experience is so multifaceted over the whole of the world, 45 countries, and I've been many times and I lived in many, I've met a million people, then this person is a whole conglomerate of me. And you are a part of me, and everybody else is a part of me. That's why nobody can find Aaron, you see.
Let me ask you this. Do you know, this is why I look at us like what I was talking about before, the bacteria in your stomach. We are all the bacteria in a stomach. You get what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. We are all the bacteria, but the bacteria could be in harmony with getting this big pod or vessel that we're in to the next level, or it could be one of the cancer cells that just need to be eliminated from the body through detoxifying. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I look at it, as the neutral space, with indifference toward, if somebody has a certain way of thinking, then that's on them. But who knows? Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm wrong. You get what I'm saying? But let me ask you this. Do you know what B12 is for? Because this is why I wanted to get to back to the point where everything is energy. But there's energy. Somebody could be very physically energetic, but spiritually dead. You know what I'm saying? Because there's different levels of energy. It's not just energy where, because I can move around my day and be active, that I have that kind of energy spiritually. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there's a certain level of energy that I build when my focus is elsewhere. Because I can see certain spiritual people, they're a lot slower than we are. They're like, they speak slower. They're more, you know what I'm saying? They're more like this, you know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean that they're low energy. They just don't have that. Because the thing is, look, when you eat certain foods, they will give you that energy physically, but that's beast mode energy. So there's certain foods that are spiritual food, and then there's certain foods that are feeding your body in a certain way for the body to have, wait, I'm just gonna finish, for the body to have a reaction. Because I know you have, this is why I want to get back to this, because what I want to, there's a difference between like energy, and then there's also that life force, which is a different thing. Because I can get a little energy from certain foods, but there's also a life force in the food, that it's like, it's an energy that's totally different than the energy you would feel from an energy you would get from like a cup of coffee. You get what I'm saying? So this is where I was getting to with how you're sleeping, the hours of sleep that you would need, is certain different levels of energy. You get what I'm saying? Because I can feel really energetic, but then there's times where I would have to feel like I need to sleep a little bit more, because physically my body has to process something. Now, the reason I ask you Do you know what B12 is for? Like B12 is not even a vitamin, it's a bacteria. You get what I'm
No.
saying?
Yeah.
B12 is one of the most important minerals, or it's a bacteria, but one of the most important things in our body. It's a bacteria that it's like people who are, all right, so I'll tell you first of all what B12 is for. It's for red blood cell formation, neurological functions, carbohydrate metabolism, and natural energy production. But notice how I said natural energy production, not the energy you would get from coffee. So let's say, for example, if I'm putting something that's conducive in my body, I'm going to get a charge. It's an electrical charge to
So
some
when you
extent.
say natural energy production, I mean the body
Natural, organic. So I'm
transforms
going to get
all energies into glucose, and then the body breaks down glucose. That's what it likes to break down. So is that what you're talking about?
Well, there's also different sugars, because there's certain sugars that'll give you a spike that if you go to the gym, you utilize that and your muscles can benefit from the energy you get from that quick spike. But then there's also
I was led to believe, or for what I've read, that all of these sugars, they have to be transmuted into glycogen, because glycogen is the only one that the body can break down. So they transmute all these different fructose and sucrose and all that shit into glycogen, and then glycogen is carried around the body with the blood vessels, and it's burnt as energy.
So fructose comes from fruit. It's a natural source of sugar from fruit. Glucose comes from like greens, like veggies and stuff like that. And then you got galactose, which comes from like milk. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, these are the natural sources of, let's say if you make water kefir, it needs certain sugars for it to feed off of. And then that's where you get the probiotic in your stomach. So sugar is one of the most important things for life. You know what I'm saying? For your body to function. Other than that, everything else is just basically extras in the movie. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I say B12 is that it's a bacteria. You know what I'm saying? And that bacteria is responsible for your energy throughout the day, for the body to actually have functions, because there's different organs in your body. There's doctors, for example, who, if they see a dis-ease in the organ, the first thing they want to do is take it out. See, the way I look, organs emit a frequency. That's why they're called organs. All right. If you go to a place where they're playing musical organs, if one organ is off, the whole song sounds bad.
Mm-hmm.
But if they take that organ out, the song sounds better. But is it really that frequency that you want it to have a complete, like if you're trying to get to a 432 hertz and one organ is bad, and rather than me fixing that organ, I just take out that organ, am I really getting a 432 hertz?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Wouldn't I have to have other organs work a little bit harder just to take the place of what that organ was supposed to be doing in order for the body to be emitting one song, universe? You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I say, like, there's a vagus nerve that connects all your organs together. All the organs, it's like, the stupid thing is like, let's say if you have your point of view and I have my point of view, it would be equivalent to the heart saying, arguing with the liver, telling the liver that it's supposed to act like the heart, or it's supposed to be doing what the heart is doing. They have their own individual functions for the one body to work. So that's why I believe that different point of views sometimes are valid, and they feed or help off each other. Now, the bacteria, for example, the B12, people buy it in supplemental forms in GNC, Vitamin Shop, or whatnot. That's not the natural bacteria that you would get from, like they say it's high in meat. But the thing about the meat, and I'm not against meat eating because I eat meat, you know what I'm saying? It's just that if I eat meat, I'm not gonna eat, I'll enjoy my piece of steak. I'll have a big juicy steak. I'm gonna tear that shit up and I'll have it raw. I like my shit raw. But I'm not gonna eat for 24 hours after that. Because I'm also aware of the design of how my systems are made. So if I eat a piece of meat, I'm gonna give myself 24 hours for that shit to fully process. You get what I'm saying? Or I may not eat meat for another 2 weeks, and I'll eat other lighter foods just to make sure that nothing is being stored in there that my body couldn't physically process.
Mm-hmm.
Now, also, you can look at the word process and say it's a physical breakdown or it's an informational breakdown. When you cook a piece of meat, you kind of kill the information that you're supposed to get. Maybe you're supposed to eat the meat raw, but then that's where carnivores, they'll eat that meat raw. They'll eat it with the bones and everything because they have these special glands that actually deteriorate even it down to the bone. But do you notice how you can't give a dog or a cat cooked meat? You can't give them the cooked bone. If they could deteriorate and process the bone raw. But the moment you give them the bone cooked, it starts to cut their insides. It changes the whole structure of what that bone originally was. You get what I'm saying? So the meat now becomes alkaline. The meat is naturally neutral. You get what I'm saying? But when have you tried to break a piece of meat raw? It's very hard. So imagine how hard it would be for the body to actually process it. So were we actually supposed to kill the animal and just drink the blood? Or were we supposed to actually eat the meat? And the same way like animals in the wild, man, they don't eat for sometimes 7 days. But no, humans are eating like 6 times a day, 5 times a day. You know what I'm saying? Yet that cooked, what happens is you acidify the meat and it starts to mess up the intrinsic factor in your stomach, which is responsible for that recycling of that B12. Now that B12 is important because I just said that it's responsible for red blood cell formation. If you have a calcium deficiency, it can have a lot to do with the B12 being deficient in your body because of the acidity that you put your body through. Calcium deficiencies also have a lot to, then you can have, because blood cells are made in the bone marrow. Then you
Okay.
have a problem with D3, for example, where D3 is a hormone processed on your skin. And
Yeah.
if you're eating the meat and sometimes those saturated fats are leaking through your pores, it's not the sun that causes skin cancer, it's basically those oils. It's all acids. You know what I'm saying?
Let me
So
tell you why I don't believe a single. Um,
I get, I get it.
yeah, I don't
And I
believe
don't expect you to. Listen,
No.
before you say anything, I don't expect you to, but it's just basically something that we can dialogue off of.
Yeah.
And I like where you're getting at because I believe the mind is all. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm all on board with that. You get what I'm saying?
See,
So don't get me wrong.
no. So you know, we can partake in all of that stuff, and it can be fascinating, and we can think that we're doing the best for our body. We'll have a belief system in it, and you can think that you're going to be living maybe longer and healthier and all these sort of things. But you know, all I do is I look along the past, and I look down at history, and only in the Bible does it say that, you know, so and so was 800 years old and all this rubbish. For recorded history, for human beings, it is extremely rare for any of us to live to be over 110 years old. And these ages don't seem to make any difference what culture they come from, whether they're up in the Himalayas or whether they're out in the Gobi Desert, or whether, you know, they're in the Western world or something like this, like little old ladies, like the Queen Mother. She was 103 apparently when she died. And so all it seems to me, I'm proof of the pudding. I have never ever had a major illness. There's nothing wrong with my body from a mechanical and advisory perspective. The only things I've ever had, I've had one tooth out. I haven't had any other fillings. One tooth broke and I've took it out. I've had a back problem due to me working manual work all of my life. And so that's recurring. And then I've had a hip replacement. So bones, because I've done karate, high impact. So I've worn the body out structurally. But other than that, I've never had a single illness. I haven't even had a cold in 10 years. Right? I don't get nothing. And I eat what I want. And so I believe there's something more than that. I believe it's the state of mind. And my state of mind is in a higher state of the body. I know that this body is just a vessel and it's just a dream. I'm dreaming it. And so therefore, I don't have any connection in relation to the harm that I could do to the body. Because if you have a belief system, and it's like people smoking cigarettes, it's the belief that smoking causes cancer, it's going to kill a person, because they know subliminally every single cigarette they have, they're harming themselves, they're harming themselves, they're harming themselves, because everybody tells them so. And so therefore the unconscious is storing that information, and the unconscious is like a little child, and we know this from hypnosis. We tell it something and it believes it and it acts upon it. This is why you can put people under hypnosis, and then you can tell them to bite what they think is an apple, and it's an onion, and then they'll say it's the most beautiful and sweetest, juiciest thing. It's all mind, every single bit of it.
I want to ask you this though. So I'm all on board with what you're saying, but here's my question to you. So the same way that you carry that, what we would consider the right or favorable mentality, you don't think that you may be carrying the unfavorable mentality in that direction too? Because here's the thing. There are people who are sick, but that all has to do with genes too. Your family may be a family of strong genes that pass down a strong seed in this reality. You get what I'm saying? That's where the whole mind virus comes in, where people say, oh, you got to be careful because cancer runs in the family. That's injected in somebody's mind as a mind virus. Now
Yeah.
that person grows up accepting that, and
Mm-hmm.
they may manifest that in their life through fear or through belief that their family runs cancer in their family. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But not absolutely true, because I feel like you can actually alter and change everything that happens in your reality with your mind. But here's the thing though, the same way you carry that mentality toward that you can eat whatever you want and nothing will happen is the same reason why I say, do you carry that same mentality? And it may be affecting you in different ways, to where you said you did urine therapy, you did certain things, you changed, and not a single thing happened. You get what I'm saying? So you're so into that space that it don't matter if it's favorable or unfavorable. You'll basically stay in that space no matter what, even if it's favorable or unfavorable. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not
Hmm.
saying that that's what it is to you, but do you think that that may be the reason why urine therapy or anything may not have worked for you? You get what I'm saying? Because everything has a chemistry. But if you're not willing to accept that chemistry or admit that there is a chemistry to things in an organic form, such as communication, for example, like I said, people can absorb all the B12. They take these pills of 2,500 micrograms and they're still not absorbing it when the body only needs 5 micrograms, and you could recycle that for up to 6 years. You get what I'm saying? And it's doing all the functions of what it's supposed to do. People think that you need to take in more, but it's not that. If you're not accepting it to begin with, you got to figure out what the root of the reason why you're not accepting it is. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, that's the question I'm
I
asking.
mean, I'm not dismissing anything. I'm not like I don't believe this, because I've tried all these diets and I had an open mind about it, and I wanted to see what happened. And because my energy levels never changed and my sleeping pattern never changed, and anything in relation to my mental ability never changed, then I'm like, well, it seems to me that it's all part of the placebo of life. Every single thing is a placebo. If we believe in a certain outcome of something, then we'll keep doing it, and working towards it and thinking about it, and then we'll create that reality, because that's what we do. We are gods. We create our own reality. And so if you don't have any horses in the race, and if you don't believe anything, and I don't believe a single thing, I don't even believe in my own self. The only thing that I know is that I am pure awareness, and that's the only thing I can't escape. Even out in the craziest, wackiest of astral projections, or psychedelic experiences, or deepest of meditations, there's been an awareness there. It's got nothing to do with this body, our, and the world. I've not known it's there at all. All I've been is awareness. That's what I know I am. And all
So
this is all fiction. And so when we look at the world, and when we look at the masters and what they're doing, they know it too, Ziggy. It's painfully obvious that they know it, because the whole thing, what they are doing is they are presenting an illusion to us. They are magicians, they are illusionists, and every single thing that they do is an illusion, and it's a perpetuation of the illusion, constantly a reiteration of the illusion, because they know, just like hypnotists, if you stop doing it, then you'll come out of the hypnosis.
well, let me ask you this. You can, so it's an illusion. That means you can recreate the illusion with your consciousness and focus and awareness. Am I right or wrong?
You create your own reality by
Right?
your belief system. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. So here's what I ask. For example, you have certain macronutrients, let's say. Okay. This is why I'm stuck on this organic thing, and it's more life force than anything. When you have carbohydrates, there's good carbs and bad carbs, right? The carbs that you would get from sugar, when I see carbohydrate, I see carbon, oxygen, which is essential for life. Okay, carbon, oxygen, and you got hydrates, carbohydrates. When you have a micro wheel, there's a micro wheel that's responsible for how that macro wheel is processed in your body, which is why I say what you process here has to come from you first. So, for example, you said belief system. So it all comes down to, if your body consists of over 2 million different types of proteins. Do you believe in your world that you need to take a gram of protein per body weight to build muscle?
No.
Okay. Because that's an important topic. Every time I tell somebody, hey man, I'm eating a lot more fruits at this season, at this point in time, because it's hot out. So I like to eat more fruits, and I'm growing a lot of fruits. So I'm going to eat a lot more fruits. The first programming that everybody asks is, well, how are you getting your protein, bro? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, why is everybody so focused? Because it's a program. Why is everybody so focused on protein? Because protein, for example, your body already has this in abundance the same way it has calcium.
Let me
So
let me tell
if,
you what I
hold on,
do.
I'm gonna finish right now. You can actually manipulate your your microbes within you to work with these proteins that you already have in your body to build muscle. You get what I'm saying? But if these bacteria are not healthy, that's why you need external sources of protein, so that you don't wither away. And that's why when somebody stops eating meat, for example, they say, why am I losing so much weight? It's because their body is going through a reset. If I give a man steroids, right, and then he gets off of it, what's going to happen? He's going to feel like shit and he's going to get real small, but because his body's endocrine system that's responsible for testosterone production is actually slowed down because they gave it the inorganic or the synthetic source of testosterone. You get what I'm saying? So it's very important for the bacteria in your body to be healthy. It's just like the soil in your garden. You're not going to have good fruit or good plants. This is where I want to get into mycology with the mycelium network, okay? Because if you don't have a healthy bacterial system in your soil, you're not going to have that mycelium network. That mycelium network is responsible for entangling itself in the roots, giving the nutrients to the plant, and in turn, the plant from the sun gives the sugars right back down to that mycelium network. Now, the mycelium network is the root system of these mushrooms that we would have these altered states of consciousness with. You know what I'm saying? Now, the crazy part is people even become dependent on that. But if our microbes were functioning the way they're supposed to in our body, you don't think that, because we already produce DMT. You know what I'm saying? Yet it's illegal, but it's produced in our lungs in abundance. It's produced by our pineal gland. So why are we not producing these chemicals in such an abundant state that we would have to get it from external sources? You get what I'm saying? This is why I'm getting to that. The organic is a source of life force that activates DNA. It's kind of like it's turning you on. But when you hear turn on, somebody says like, yo, you're turning me on lustfully. No, I'm talking about really turning somebody on. Like I'm talking about getting these neurons firing in a normal, because I could give you sugar. And if I give you sugar, it has the same effects as cocaine on the brain. So that's what I'm saying. There's a favorable way and an unfavorable way. The favorable way will start turning certain systems within you online, that because you're a supercomputer. But why are you not functioning like a supercomputer? There's still something missing. Even though you feel healthy, you feel energetic, there's still something missing. And that's why you still feel sometimes, not you, but people still feel hungry for, let's say, meeting certain people that are like them, acquiring more and more information, because they're not satiated spiritually, but they're also not satiated where if they feel like they got to constantly keep eating, is that they're not, because I can eat an apple and I'm already good. But if I eat donuts, I got to eat another donut, another. It's like an addiction. You know what I'm saying? You're not supposed to be addicted to sugars. You're not supposed to be addicted to salts, because the amount of salt that the Food and Drug Administration tell you is the recommended dose is from inorganic sources. But if you're taking the organic source of sodium, such as like celery or beets that you grow in your own garden, you only need about 80 to 90 milligrams of sodium, not 2,500. Of course, you need 2,500 because there's deficiencies in that. Just like protein. If I'm taking animal protein, that's alien, foreign protein. You get what I'm saying? But I'm not saying I don't need meat. I'm just saying, man, I'm giving, because there's life force, and there's things that I'm connecting to the way I feel spiritually, and things that are really firing me up, man. There's things that are turning my systems on. DNA activation. I'm even getting DNA activation just talking to people. You get what I'm saying? And they're turning me on, even though they're really not teaching me anything. They're just showing me something. As I'm telling them something, they show me something about me that I'm learning. And I'm like, God damn, dude, this shit was cool. That's a reciprocity, because I'm open-minded, but also I'm in the frequency and vibration with the intent that when I wake up, I'm grateful for what I am acquiring on a daily basis, to what the elite we would consider, because I'm the elite, but they don't care about money. They'll just keep printing it up for people and keep feeding you, because if I give $1 million to a pig, he's going to eat that shit. He's not going to care what $1 million is. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, it's my turn now.
Yeah. But yeah. I was just trying to make a point. You know what I'm saying?
When we look at the billionaires on this planet, they have all the money to be able to live as long as is possibly humanly possible. Yeah. And yet they ain't going to make it past 110. So I rest my case with all of this, what I consider to be nonsense. It's just, if you like to talk about art, then talk about art. Talk about all the symmetry. Talk about all the gooey business and the compassion and the love and all this bollocks.
Whether I'm not into that.
Well,
I'm not into that shit either.
Yeah, but it's just semantics. It's semantics.
Look, but there's a harmony.
No. You've had your say.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to make my point now, because my point is that I've never been heavily involved in all these nutrients and shit like that. All I've done in my life, I've set my intention that I'm going to achieve a certain something, and I'm going to be a certain size, and I'm going to be a certain weight, and I'm going to be able to kick at a certain height and this, that, and the other. And I've done it. And I've eaten anything that I've ever wanted to. And like I said in the past, I've ate enormous amounts of chocolate. Every single day I used to go into the shop and I'd buy 5 or 6 bars of varying chocolate and I'd eat them one after the other.
I
You
did
know,
too.
yeah. And so I've never been fat. I've never been out of shape. I've never been tired. I've never been ill. I've never been any of that fucking bullshit. My skin's always perfect. I've never had a skin rash. I've
But
never had
why?
any fucking thing.
Why?
Because
Why?
I believe that nothing can touch me.
But
And
do you think everybody should be eating like that then?
I think that if you don't believe in the nonsense, then it can't touch you because it's all belief. You
So
see,
ignorance is bliss.
not ignorance is bliss. You have to know that you are immune. You see, the whole thing about what they're doing now, they can't touch me. They can't touch me in any shape or form. And, just a small thing, like I proved it in relation to the mask thing. I will walk anywhere on this planet and nobody will ever make me put a mask on if I don't want to. Now, I've worn a mask in because this girl, the hairdresser, she cuts my hair. And she's the only one that knows how to fucking do it. And for 10 minutes, I'll put a mask on. That's the only time I've ever put it on. And ain't no policeman or no politician ever going to tell me to do it, because I'm going to tell them that I'm a sovereign entity and my body is telling me that I don't want that. I don't need it, and that's going to make me sick. So therefore, I'm not doing it. And if you fine me, then I'm not going to pay the fucking fine. And if you put me in jail, then you can spend £15,000 a week for the privilege of that, because I don't give a fuck, because it's free food and board to me. You can't touch me. You can't do nothing to me. And if you come near me with those fucking needles, I'll break your fucking neck if it comes down to it. Okay? I'm not subscribing to your bullshit. I don't need it. Thank you very much. Just leave it to them. There's plenty of people that are going to be buying into your bullshit and queuing up for it. So you concentrate on them. I'm immune to your nonsense because I know the deal of this universe, just the same as you do, motherfuckers. I know the deal. And they will know that, this is the thing about it, you see. The people that run this fucking show, if they are not all, then there's a high proportion of them that they are Kabbalists. The Kabbalists know the in and out of what it is to be a spirit and an entity in this universe. And that's why they manipulate us the way they do, because they don't have, you see, people think they're psychopaths. They're not psychopaths, you see. They're not psychopaths in the sense that people think they are, because a psychopath is somebody that's detached from a human empathy. But they know that there's no reality here. So it's not necessary to have empathy, because empathy is a part of the fiction. So they know that they are here in a fictitious world, and say they are just conducting themselves without any conscience. And you know that the Kabbalists do this because they say it in the Talmud. They don't have a conscience about what they do at all. They say if they're going to do this, if they want to eat this, if they want to do this, then just let them. And then they will tell you some fiction about some fucking disease. And then if you wear the fucking mask and if you go for the injections, well, if you want to do that, then do it. You see, that's what it's all about. It's just about a coercion and a manipulation. And they're working from the premise that we don't care about our bodies because we are not enlightened beings. You see, I've asked people about wearing this mask, and I say, aren't you uncomfortable wearing that mask for 8 hours a day in the shop?
Huh.
I don't mind. I don't mind. Are you fucking serious? You don't mind breathing in your fucking bad breath for 8 fucking hours? You don't mind? Well, if it makes other people happy. Well, those are the sort of people, they're dead. Ziggy, those are the people that they're manipulating. They're not manipulating conscious entities like us because they can't touch us with that bullshit. And if you believe that you will never be touched, you never will. And all my life, they've not touched me. And it doesn't matter. I don't even remember the last time I vomited from eating something which was bad. Years and years and fucking years. In actual fact, the last time I vomited was probably induced by excessive alcohol. Completely pissed. But that must have been about 30 years ago. I just don't get sick. And my sister's always saying to me, because she's a chef, and she said, don't eat this and don't eat that. And I said to her, I've ate rice when it's been in the fridge for 5 or 6 fucking days after the event, and I've never been sick. So don't talk to me about salmonella and poisoning from this and fucking that. If you believe it,
those are all ideas. But that's what I'm saying. The salmonella and all that. If your bacteria is healthy in your stomach, it can't process what we would want to consider salmonella. But I'm going to tell you something. With all due respect, I don't think you got what I was telling you, because what I was asking you is this. If what I'm saying, when I first started the video, I said that health basically is a mental state. I get the whole thing about the belief of what it can do to you and not, but why I say that it's turning on DNA. For example, there's an organic and inorganic way of feeling good. You get what I'm saying? If I give you caffeine, you're going to feel a short gain. You're going to feel great. When you're sick, you don't have energy because energy is directed toward the body getting better, such as generating heat to build a fever and whatnot. So let's say, for example, we're in a slow, dense realm and everything is slow motion. If things are happening to you in a slow motion state, you may not realize the things that it can do to you spiritually. I'm not saying physically, because there's people who live to be 90 and they eat garbage. You know what I'm saying? And I told you, I eat chocolate
And
and
smoke 40 a day.
Right. But check this out. This is my point. There's certain things that aren't chemically supposed to be in your system, which means that it can retard the process of you trying to get, let's say, what one would consider spiritual enlightenment. Because spiritual enlightenment is being able to even a Kundalini awakening is you generating energy from the coccyx all the way up to your up the 33rd vertebrae to really pass into your pineal gland and right back down, which is the whole story of Jesus Christ. But the whole thing is, aside from the attention that we're drawing on ourselves, you know, that we divert ourselves outside of ourselves, is certain things that chemically the body cannot process, and the body it can't be turned on through certain things because there's no chemical reaction. Everything here in life is going to be chemistry. If you have a relationship with a woman and the woman could look real good, and if there's no chemistry between you, and then I have sex with another girl who's not that good, it don't matter how good she looks. I may just have better chemistry with the girl who didn't look good, because everything is just chemistry. When we talk, for example, there's got to be chemistry between us for us to have a healthy communication here. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to say is that there's different levels of that energy as well. The organic, bacterial, informational form of what the bacteria in your stomach is passing off as information to the rest of the body. You got to understand, like me and you are communicating, we're giving each other information, but if there's a disconnect, then you're not going to be lit up, and I'm not going to be lit up. That's just an example. You know what I'm saying? So that's why people say sometimes, like, I understand you have your belief, but that's why I was telling you, even with when you do the urine or whatever, it may be whatever it is, you say there's no reaction, whether it's favorable or unfavorable. And when you do eat that, there's no connection there either, because your mind is already set to that. But that's why I say, when you try to just listen to what I'm saying about the DNA part, and it really does make a big difference, because the genetic information is what you're being passing down to your seed. When you have another child, that child could be as healthy as you physically. You get what I'm saying? But there's different levels of understanding certain things rather than understanding certain things of how you're eating, because you're always eating. You're eating things from your ears, your eyes, your fingers, your mouth. Even when you smell something, you're eating. You know what I'm saying? And your body's processing it as information to tell your brain if it's harmful gases.
You know, the
gases.
Kabbalists, the Jewish Kabbalists, they bless their food before they eat it.
That's the whole concept. That's transmutation,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So, but that's on a, now if you're doing it because, let's say the animal died, right? That's why halal food exists, because halal means that they were killed in a certain humane way. So let's say, for example, you bless your food, that you don't know the state of being that the person who killed the animal was in. So you're going not just the state of being of the animal, but you're going way back to even how the butcher killed it, and the state of being the butcher. Because everything is like, if you want to talk about string theory and how we're all connected, or quantum physics, like, you got to see that all that is just basically all attack. Those are etheric chords, regardless of whether I had a direct interaction with them or not. You know what I'm saying? It's still an etheric chord to some extent. This is how you can bring something into existence through manifestation. Doesn't mean that you have to have a physical connection, but you have to have a thought form about it. You get what I'm saying? So I'm transmuting the energy in order for it to serve me. It could be dead energy. Let's say it's corrupt energy, right? The corrupt energy may be something I need at that moment in time to get me to the next level, whatever it may be. That's why I always say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. This is why I say that even when you're eating things, the body has a lot more to work with, which is a good thing. So if I'm eating meats, chocolates, give me the radiation, give me everything I want. It's making me stronger if it ain't killing me, but is it turning me off in other areas? You get what I'm saying? That's why there has to be a balance. There's not really a polarization to, nope, I'm God and nothing can hurt me. You get what I'm saying? Well, it's just basically, I can be, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to cut you off. I'm just going to finish here. Because I work with certain people. They're fat and sick. They're really sick, but it doesn't mean because they're fat, they're sick. They're just really sick because of what they're telling me. Because there's certain people who are really fat and they could do jumping jacks and they could do flips. And I'm like, yo, how the hell do you move your weight around like that? They're light on their feet, better than this person who's skinnier. So
Mm.
it's all an idea. It's up here. But at the end of the day, there's certain people who are genuinely sick. And the first thing I ask them is, well, how are you eating? They're eating chicken nuggets for breakfast. They're eating McDonald's, bro. And I'm talking about through the entire day. They'll tell me this is what they eat every day. But it's because it's cheap. It's only $1. You get what I'm saying? So you eat like a god or you eat like a peasant. It's all about the same way. Do you wear raggedy clothes or do you treat yourself to the best stuff because subconsciously that's doing something to you that you deserve that? Now, if I eat like garbage, then it's because subconsciously my body doesn't deserve anything better than $1 fucking Whopper. You get what I'm saying?
But then you see, there's so many obese people around, and say like in the UK, for instance. I mean, I think we eat pretty good compared to the diet of most Americans, and so in the UK, we're all very, very conscious of eating a lot of fruit and vegetables, and keeping all the sugars down to a minimum, and so when we watch people shop, and generally there's a load of color in there with the fruit and vegetables, and it's pretty balanced, and yet they still weigh 16 stone, and then they'll say, well, I've been to slimming.
16 stone in pounds? No?
I don't know. I weigh like 14 stone, and so well, there's 2.2 pounds to the kilo.
Like 185.
85 kilos about. Do you do kilos?
No,
Yeah.
the weight pounds.
Pounds, yeah. And so what I'm saying is, there's a lot of people that do eat healthy, but they are overweight, and the whole diet thing just doesn't seem to be working for me, because unless even people, when they don't eat a great deal of stuff, their thyroid isn't active enough to burn the excess off. And so even if they eat a pork pie, then they're going to put a whole kilo on or something like this. There's lots of these people around, and either you are an exomorph or an endomorph, depending on your body type. A thinner person can pretty well eat what they want to eat because they're blessed with their certain metabolism, whereas somebody else will eat just a little wafer. And you see them, these women, bless them, they're eating a wafer for breakfast and a wafer for fucking lunch and a lettuce leaf for fucking dinner, and they just can't lose weight because of the whole body metabolism. And so it's more than just the rudimentaries of the science. There's a whole lot going on. And in relation to me putting on muscle, for instance, I just tell myself, I stand in the mirror and I tell myself, remember how you used to be, Aaron? 5 years ago, you were fucking awesome and you were all pumped up and you weighed about 2 stone more. That's how you want to be. And I tell myself, you see, you're nodding, you know exactly. I tell myself.
That's how I do it, bro. That's how I do it every day. But that's what I'm telling you. You're made of 2 million different types of protein. You're talking to your proteins to program it to do what it needs to do with the microbes of your stomach.
And the body is going to get the protein from any fucking thing because it's just going to do it because it's a genius. So honest to goodness, I don't eat anymore and I work out even less. I'm in and out these days, the gym, in half a fucking hour, and I've never been stronger. I've never been bigger. And I just tell myself, this is how I want to be. And there are occasions when I will let myself go and I will just eat whole packets of bacon because I love bacon sandwiches. And I'll think, fuck it, I'll have a couple of weeks where I'm going to eat bacon butties, I'm going to have some pork pie, I'm going to eat loads of crisps, I'm going to eat all the things that I don't usually eat, and then I'll put on a couple of pounds around the waist, and I'll go, okay, I've had my fun. In 2 weeks' time, this is gone.
That's the key. But you see what I'm saying? Like, some people don't have the ability to measure. That's because they're out of control. So they'll keep eating mindlessly, and then they'll just keep packing on those pounds. And by the time they know it, they're like, yo, what the fuck happened? It's like, it happened.
Tell me if you experience this then. What I say to myself is, I don't have to do any diets. I don't have to have I don't do a conscious thing at all. I tell my unconscious what I want. And I say, unconscious, I'm going to lose, and I hold it in my hands, a little bit like this. I say, all this is going to be gone in 2 weeks from now. I forget about it. I never think about it again. And then after 2 or 3 weeks, I go, oh, I remembered I did that. And oh, look how slim I am. It's all gone because you've told your unconscious. Your unconscious sets about losing the weight. And then the next time you go into the supermarket, your unconscious is telling the consciousness what it wants. And it doesn't tell you that it wants bacon and pork pies and all these sort of things. You just don't feel like it. I just don't feel like it. From time to time, I tell myself that I'm going to eat all these fun things, and then it's over in 1 week or something like that. And then I'll go like 6 months without ever eating it again. So it's the mind. It's all mind. I swear to God.
Well, let me ask you this though. You don't think that from the get-go, because we talk about, you said that there's people who eat balanced diets and they still gain weight.
Yeah.
See, this is my point. Like, it starts from the beginning. You are born into a system, okay? You could look at the systems here or the systems outside, whatever way you want to take that, because you could take that 2 different ways. The first thing they give kids is a book long of vaccines. You don't think that that's altering the body's natural chemistry to some extent as to how you're supposed to, so that you can adapt, that you can adapt to the inorganic garbage that they give you in the supermarket?
Well, let me tell you this. I've never had any vaccines. You know when they give you this one with 12 shots at school?
Yeah.
I never had that. All of my family had it. And the 2 sisters and my elder brother, they all suffer from depression. I've never suffered from depression, except my dark night of the soul, which was self-induced. They all suffer on an ongoing basis, psoriasis and alopecia, and they've been on medication and all this sort of thing. I've never had that, and I've never had that, motherfucker. I'm the healthiest. They've all got fillings. I've got no fucking fillings. And, you know, they're my brother is almost fucking bald. He's only 2 years older than me. He looks like he could be my dad. All this sort of thing. And I swear that's got a lot to do with it.
It's got something to do with it. Exactly. Yeah. So there, that's why I mentioned that, because this is why I asked you before, should everybody be eating like that? See, the thing is, you said you didn't get the vaccines. My son didn't get vaccines. You know what I'm saying? But not everybody is mentally the way you are, but not everybody is. Everybody is indoctrinated into the system through vaccines, through knowledge, mind viruses, programming. So that's why what they're eating will affect them. It is not like, you know how we talked about the ignorance part and just not being aware of it? It's still going to have a chemical reaction because your body still has to make a, like, you don't pump the blood through your heart. The body's doing it by itself. You know what I'm saying? It's like if I'm in a car, I'm not moving the pistons. I'm just driving the vehicle. You know what I'm saying? The vehicle will give me check engine lights from time to time. I could do it where I just cut the check engine light, be like, okay, my car's fixed. I don't have no more light. Or I can address the problem and get rid of the check engine light to make it work better. You know what I'm saying? Or not to have a problem down the road. A lot of people, because I've worked in the supplement industry my entire life, without me even being aware of the consciousness that I have now, I've experienced people breaking down prematurely. And I'm talking about the first thing that goes for some reason is their dick. You know what I'm saying? They're 30 years old and their dick ain't working no more. And I'm like, well, why the fuck is your dick not working? You're only 30. You know what I'm saying? And it has a lot to do with the chemistry just not working properly. You know what I'm saying? And it could be plaque buildup. It could be from the fats not being able to body.
You see, your sexual energy is your life energy. And if their life energy is low, then that's the first thing to go.
And that should be
they feel lethargic, they're tired, and they've got no fucking libido. And
that's vitality.
Yeah, they're only firing on two pistons, and they can barely get through each day. Now, you see, what we've been speaking about over this past couple of hours is pertaining to energy, basically, in all of its forms. And when we look at diet, and when we look at, say, like our intellect, and when we look at how empowered we are, when we look at how scared or not we are, all of these things that they pertain to so many multifacets. And this is why we can never work out what the world is or what man is, because it's a paradox, because it is and it isn't. When we look in the deepest crevices of what this universe is, we find the paradox. We find Schrodinger's cat, you know, where things are and they aren't. We find entanglement, where it can be a particle here and then the particle over the other side of the universe is fucking entangled somehow. And then we find that the atoms come in and out of existence. Where do they go? Into another dimension. Then we find that the photons can either be a light particle or a wave function. Everything is asked about face. Everything is and it isn't. So how do we suppose that we're going to make any difference, any changes to that? The universe is a paradox. And so every single thing, you see, we know it's a paradox also because just very simple things. If you give somebody some psychotropics for their mental disposition, and then if you give other people a placebo, you're going to get exactly the same results. Whether they think they work or whether they think they don't, you're going to get this 50% placebo thing because it is, in actual fact, all mind.
Right. So yeah, I'm totally agreeing with that, because I mean, you give somebody a sugar pill and they'll all of a sudden, if I tell you that this works, this is absolutely how it works, then yeah. But that placebo comes back down to how you feel about yourself. So that's why you feel like nothing can mess you up because of that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You believe that about yourself, about your mechanism. Um, where I was getting at through the entire video was basically on the fact that not everybody is at that level. You know what I'm saying? But I believe the neutral, natural base point is important, for the simple fact that if you're not, let's say, harmonized within you, whether what some people would consider bad, like inner demons, and you're in a blissful state, people think they're being attacked, but because you're carrying those demons with you and they need a home as well. If you're in that blissful state, you're carrying something with you. Now, if you're in the neutral point and you address these things when you are in whatever state you're being, you could get an understanding as to what it is that you're carrying there, and you either get rid of it or put it in the space that it belongs to in order for it to work for you. The whole concept of prayer works like that. The whole concept of prayer works within, as far as to how you manage the energies within you, as within, so without. So you have energies within you that you need to transmute the same way you transmute the food outside of you. So I get all that. That's 100%. That's why I said we build on this information more than anything, and not in a debate where I don't, because I agree with what you're saying. I just wanted to get my point across as to, because different ways to look at things. It's like people can say negative energy is bad because
Yeah.
it's like, but you get negative ion when you ground, and that's soul food through the
Well,
soul.
the whole point about it, there's no negative energy and there's no positive energy. There is
Exactly, it's just
only
energy.
there is only energy. And if we look at what the fundamental premise of the universe is, it's only three things. It's a positron, a neutron, and an electron. Those are the three things that make up the whole. You see, they're inseparable from one another because that's the whole functionality of it. They need one another. You need a neutral energy, you
Exactly.
need a positive, you need a negative. That's what the universe is. And so as long as we have mastery over that, we have an understanding and we utilize it. You see, I did a video, one of my recent videos, and I'm speaking about a spiritual surgery. I did spiritual surgery on myself, and I
Okay.
spoke about how I spoke in a particular video, and I uploaded it, and how I felt there was a dull ache in my solar plexus or in my heart, and I had a conscience about that, and I looked at that and I went, what the fuck's going on with you, dude? I mean, you never get a conscience about your vicious tongue and all this sort of thing. You just say that if they're evolved, then they won't be affected by it. It's only going to be the unevolved ones that need to look at themselves. They need this level of shaking up, and if they're too frail for it, they're not ready for me. And so I had this feeling in my chest, and I went, holy motherfucker. After about a half a day, I had to take the video down. I edited the first 10 minutes of it, and then I put it back up, and then that dull ache and negative energy went away. And so I made that video, and videos like this are absolutely priceless to people that can conceive of that notion, because it tells every individual that you are responsible for putting bad energy in yourself. You are responsible for extricating that bad energy. If you know yourself, if you don't know yourself, then it stays with you forever. And this is why people do carry demons. If I didn't know myself, mate, then I would have been carrying that bullshit around with me, not knowing what the fuck happened. But because I did know myself, after half a day, I got rid of the fucker. And honest to goodness, I felt fucking blissful ever since that. So this is what, we really do need to be aware of, is that we are God. We create our own reality, and we have to be very, very careful and mindful about the things that we do, because we are this creature that does have conscience, be it small or be it big. We do have an amygdala, which gives us the hormone for fear and this, that, and the other. Now, in psychopaths, apparently, it is a whole lot smaller than it is in normal people. So they feel the empathy less. This is why they can get along in business better, because they don't feel like they are stepping on people's faces when they're going up. They just feel like, well, it's horses for courses. And I pretty well feel like that too. I feel if you hurt so much, then you will find some energy inside you to do something about it. That's all it seems to me. You know, if I look at people, you say like when I was running my business and people would be working for me, and then they may have some envy about me driving around in a big car when they never had one, and I'm the boss and I could go on all these holidays. Oh, it's all right for you. Well, it's because I've worked 16 hours a fucking day, mate, you know, for this past 10 years. If you did that, then it'd be all right for you too. That's what it's about, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you see how you said the amygdala gets smaller when it's not exercised, right? It's the same thing. The pineal gland gets smaller. All your organs get smaller that you're not aware of. You know what I'm saying?
Use it or lose it.
You lose it. Exactly. Everything. And that's why it either becomes stagnant. When energy gets stagnant, it becomes rotten. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's basically coming down to, let's say if you're processing certain things, right? You process it from what space? You know what I'm saying? From the ego space or from the space that you know you're at? You know what I'm saying? That's just basically where the whole self-awareness comes in. So, but yeah, I totally agree. On that part, I totally agree for sure, man.
Yeah. And so to wrap this up then, we've gone over 2 hours now. And so, you know, finish off another 15 minutes or something, if you're all right with that. And we'll just see what we've really, have we discovered anything new? Have we finalized anything? Have we impressed upon each other what we really think is going on here? You asked me one of the questions. The first question I think that you asked is, you know, what, you know, is the purpose here? And I read enormous amounts of stuff, and I'm an incessant YouTuber and all this sort of thing. And it's been my obsession for this past 10 years to gather up information of a whole broad spectrum of stuff. And I look at myself and I ask, is this information of any value to me? Is it in actual fact useful, or is it just like all you're doing is you're scratching the surface of something which is such vast magnitude that you will never ever be able to realize even a fraction of what we think we are here. But you see, all that stuff that I've been doing here in the game, that is true. You see, the more we learn, the more we realize how little we know. And I've only ever learned something which is really, really significant when I've not bothered with all of that stuff, when I've just emptied my mind, walking in nature. And like you say, when you're in your garden, when you're growing stuff and you're not thinking about anything, that's when you get the nature of the universe revealed to you. When your mind becomes silent, when you know what you really are, then you laugh at the cosmic giggle at how stupid you've been chasing your own tail all these fucking years. When at the end of the day, I've never been more happy now. I've never been more satiated. I've never felt more empowered. And now I know how to make this body grow without even barely lifting away. I just tell it what to do and it fucking does it. I tell my mind what to do and it does it. And so we realize that we're all under hypnosis. We're under hypnosis from, you know, everybody that we meet, from the media and from the machine and all that. We've got to break our hypnosis. We have to wake up. And when we wake up, we realize then we just stop. We stand still and we just watch the merry-go-round and we go, my God, this is what I've been involved with all my life. Now, you see, it's like John Lennon says, people say I'm crazy doing what I'm doing. I'm just sitting here watching the wheels go round. Mm-hmm. Round and round and round. You see, that's it. Once you step outside, you see, he said he doesn't want to play the game anymore. He stepped out of the game and he looked at the madness of it, and then he realized what this thing was all about. And then he sang all the songs about, you know, he doesn't believe in Beatles, he doesn't believe in Allah, he doesn't believe in Buddha, he just believes in me, Yoko and me. That's reality, because that is our reality. We are the reality. And everything that's going on is all a fiction. And it's a general consensus of a fiction. That's the thing about it. If we moved out of the city and we lived in the village, we would only have the general consensus of a small community. If we lived in a wood with only your wife, you'd only have that as the general consensus, what you should be doing with your life, because you'd only have one person to consider. If you lived on your own, then that would be your general consensus, your mind. only, and you'd know nothing about what's going on in the world. You'd only know what's going on in your world. You
Right.
see?
Well, here's one realization I've had is that mankind has a problem with wanting to be free. You get what I'm saying? That's why when we look outside of ourselves, we look at the government. If there were people in control, let's say, and they're trying to suppress you in the interest of control, right? Notice how they pump out fear in the media. They pump out fear through all means of all different channels, right? Even through people wanting to police each other, right? So here's the thing. Let's say, for example, that media is feeding people garbage. So that's why if those people are eating that kind of garbage, that's the source of food. This is where I wanted to get to, just to make sure that I wrap up with where I was getting at the entire video. But if they're feeding you through that, don't you think that they're going to feed you inorganic sources of corrupt information through food in order for you to not have that self-actualization,
Yes.
self-realization to
Yes.
turn? So that's why I
Absolutely.
said the food is not what's affecting you. It's the chemicals and the inorganic shit they put in it. There's people who alkalize their water in inorganic plates, and it's throwing in inorganic minerals to alkalize that water, and they think they're doing something good, but in actuality all those inorganic minerals leach onto your connective tissue and all that, creating pain and problems in your body, corrupting, dirtying the filters so that you cannot process what it is that you take. Let's say if you do decide to eat a piece of apple, you get what I'm saying, but freshly picked, because that can go deep also. You buy it from the supermarket, it's not freshly picked, it's all touched by dirt, certain people. And let's say, for example, the fast food industry. You notice how the corporations, there's always a Illuminati hidden logo in every fucking sign or anything that you may want to look at as sources food.
Yeah.
So the same way we look at the fact that we can transmute and transform the energy from our foods, you don't think that there were rituals done beforehand? Because I did some research on some companies called Cinemax where they add aborted baby fetuses to it. There's always rituals before they do certain things. So that's why it's not just a physical thing, it's an energetic, spiritual thing that's happening when you intake these foods. That, and I'll tell you right now, I've gone to the supermarket, seen organic foods. I'm growing so much food out here that I see how my food looks and I start to question, how the fuck is this shit organic? And this should look nothing like the foods that I'm growing out here in my yard. You
Yeah.
get what I'm saying? It don't even taste the same.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Now I'm taking generational seeds and I'm passing down to for my future years of gardening. That's why I said the way you take care of this garden now and you have children are generational seeds that are under your control and not the control of the things outside of you, because you realized your freedom. See, a lot of people have a problem with being free and they feel like they need to look up to something, religion, fucking government. They're always looking for that next stimulus check. It's like, where's your self-sustaining way of being so that you can actually keep bringing that into your existence in the now moment? You get what I'm saying? Whether it be through energetic of people think, oh, I feel tired or I need to eat something. How do you know that just breathing, you ain't gonna fucking get more energy? You know what I'm saying?
What I've always said is that I'm like a star. I am nuclear fission,
Yeah.
because my energy throughout all of my years doing karate, I was renowned in my circles of karate for having an enormous amount of energy. And people say, how do you get so strong and stamina? Well, okay, I mean, I used to work 12 hours a day in a concrete gang, but
Right.
my father was naturally very, very genetically strong, and so I've got those very, very strong genes. And
Exactly.
he would say that, you know, he was doing the electronic screw thing, and they put this screw thing straight in his palm and up his wrist, and within 2 days it was healed and he never felt any pain. And so the body is just very, very strong. So I'm blessed with that. I seem to be blessed in many, many ways. And so when I look at it philosophically, people say they recognize in me an old soul. You know, lots of people from all over the world who are old souls themselves, they contact me and they want to have a relationship with me because of the shared old soulness, because we've been around forever. And I've got lots of people that said they've been with me in multiple lives and all this sort of thing. I feel as if I'm a very old soul. And when you look at the world and you see how fast asleep everybody is, and you think, well, there has to be something to do with that, because maybe I've been here thousands of times more than the most, and I've learned all these things. Because when I'm reading Nietzsche and Gurdjieff and all these sort of philosophers and psychologists, all that stuff to me is very elementary. it's like, well, of course. I mean, you were considered to be brilliant, but for me, that's elementary, and that's stuff that I've already thought about, and I live in my life. And I look at myself and I go, well, how did I learn this stuff? I learned it by being observant and thinking. And I'm like, well, how's my mind different to other people's then? And then I go, well, maybe it's because I never had this injection, motherfucker. Maybe that's got something to do with it. Maybe it's because I'm an old soul, and maybe it's because I was thrown out of the nest and I never went through this hypnosis school. Lots of things, Ziggy, lots of things to take into consideration why we are like we are. You look at yourself, well, why are you a strong character? Why you have an energy? Why you have so much to say? And you're very perceptive about the world. Your videos, you're picking stuff out the air that no fucker thinks about. You know, it's very similar to me. How is it that we're like this? How can we
Yeah,
account for that?
I was gonna tell you, man. That's why I said there's a lot of in you what I see in me. You get what I'm saying? Even certain things I say, if I disagree with certain things that you say in certain videos, I still see it as certain aspects of me and how I would act towards certain things. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We're very, very similar in that area, even the way we carry ourselves as far as the energy part. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's 100%. I forgot where the hell I was going with that. What were you talking about?
How we pick things out the air due to our
Oh,
observation,
okay,
which is
okay,
so
yeah.
elementary to us,
Wait,
but
before I
the
forget.
people can't see it.
So here's the thing. You said something very important. You said that the genes carried down. Your dad was a certain way. He passed down a healthy seed. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And basically, like why we're here, I believe, is to turn ourselves on to the point where we could become a shining star here. Basically, when we pass, we're a beacon of light to the point where you notice how people say, I'm praying to my ancestors and whatever, all that religious shit. But the ancestors are basically, they're trying to live through you. You know what I'm saying? Whatever
They
they're doing,
are in you. You are your
they're in
ancestors.
you and they're trying to express themselves through you. But instead, that's why they can't do it here. The importance of this living experience is that you can do this while you're in this realm right now. You can transmute, transform. You can do whatever the fuck you want, but it has to be in this realm. That's why it matters how you die. It's the same thing. Before you go to sleep, if you're watching a scary movie, more than likely you'll have a nightmare if you're not aware. But that's why I said, when you die, it's important how you lived throughout an entire timeline, because it's going to be what you'll manifest in that space, which is always going to be always now anyway. You've always been here. It's just about what you're going to do with the choices and decisions when you become aware of that now moment that you're living in right now. Past doesn't exist. Future is only a probability of what happens through the state of being that you stay on now, and just stay on the focus of what it is that you want to accomplish. Hence why I said I'm building myself a doppelganger that does not look human. You know what I'm saying? And every night before I go to bed, I'm building this as if I am building a time machine. Look at the movie Back to the Future, right? The time machine runs on plutonium, and I see the word Pluto there. You know what I'm saying? Nuclear energy. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
nuclear energy, the nuclear. And then 88 miles per hour, you see that infinity symbol just basically going either way you want it to look. You get what I'm saying? But the time machine is basically you, because you're multidimensional. Back to the future, or going to the past, whatever it may be, you're always here now. And that's why in the movie you'll see that whatever they did there impacts their reality to what is happening in their now moment. So they can't alter that, but you can only do that in the now. They're not supposed to touch what's going on in the future, but they could do whatever they want in their present moment. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
those are the limitations of us leaving our now moment and being in the future. We are limiting ourselves because we're not supposed to do anything to change the future, because it'll fuck us up here. But if you wanted it, if you were aware of how it would positively impact you, you have to realize that you have other bacteria in your environment, in your gut, that will be affected from the choices and decisions you make, which is why, in order for you to beat, with great power comes great responsibility. You get what I'm saying? If you're going to do something like that, you better be responsible for the impacts that's going to happen around your environment. Where you notice how certain timelines he went back and there was like a destruction of the entire now moment. All of those people are experiencing that because of me. If I was to do that, you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's not to say that it's literal, but they show you in movies how important your now moment is. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you see, I mean, we we are in effect time travelers,
Yes,
because when we envision what we want to be in the future, then you do it
that's
now.
going in. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So you see, I was, I'm sitting in the graveyard and I've got a can of a bottle of beer or something, and I start speaking about a certain scenario. Some overweight, arrogant woman came up to me, started giving me verbal abuse because I was sunbathing in the graveyard, and so but she was pointing out, look at you, and you're not much to look at, and this, that, and the other. And she was like 18 stone, and all this sort of stuff. It's just a massive projection, and filled with hate and projecting onto me all the things she wanted me to be. She hoped I wouldn't be something, but she could see that I was, and it crippled her inside because she was what she was conveying to me, and all this sort of twisted, crazy stuff that goes on with a human being. And then after I'd explained what happened, I said that basically, look, what's happened is, you see, I've been paving my future. I've been seeing the future me for ever since I gained awareness about me being in the future. And so from 15 years old, I was working out. I was boxing, I was running, I was cycling, I was pumping iron. And I've done that all of my life because I've always had a vision of how I'm going to be projecting into the future. And now when I'm 57 years old, in a few days time, I'm sitting with a body which, most people would be envious of. It doesn't matter what age. And I can speak about this, and I can say, look, I'm a fine figure of a man. And you know why? Because I've been conscious about being a fine figure of a man for this past 40 years. Because I've disciplined myself, I've educated myself, and I've put the work in every single day, and now I've earned it. And so if any of you want to tell me that I'm full of ego, you can do what you want to do. I'm telling you what I envisioned about me being a 57-year-old person. And I've already allocated my age when I'm going to vacate this world. And it's 93 years old, and I'm going to go because I want to go, because I've had enough. But I've already made up my mind also. If I get to 93 and I change my mind, I can. And I can extend that. You see, I ain't bowing out anything short of 93 years old, and I will never have a serious illness. That's what my life has been paid. That's what I've told myself. That's what I, as God, have created for myself here. Now then, you see, if I was going to smoke and drink and do cocaine and heroin and all that stuff, for the rest of these years, then how real would that vision become? It would become increasingly less and less real, wouldn't it?
Right.
But if I continue to eat well, sleep well, rest well, meditate well, and do all these things that keep this body in tip-top condition, think in a very, very positive way, and convince myself that I am going to live to 93, then that increases my probability. You see, this universe is all probability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we play with the numbers.
Right. And the more you put your focus on your experience being the observer of this reality, the more you're not of it. You know what I'm saying? And the whole thing is this is a hands-on experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to live my life and enjoy my life to the fullest. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to limit myself to certain things that I want to do. But the more you put yourself in that space, then the more you become, it's like you become aware, it becomes a lifestyle. You become aware of the choices and decisions that are going to impact your reality to some extent. You know what I'm saying?
So how do you see yourself in 20 years time? Have you already created your future you?
Well, here's the thing. I felt like I died. You know what I'm saying? Because if you was to see what I used to be back, I'm just talking about a 5 years ago. You know what I'm saying? I was a totally different man, bro. Like I was in the bodybuilding industry, real egotistical. I was just very different, man. I was very different to the way I was eating, the shit I was listening to, the way I treated people in particular. You know what I'm saying? I've always been one of those curious people throughout my youth where I felt like I was in a movie, or I felt like there was something more to this. I was very interested in aliens. You know what I'm saying? I was always looking up at the sky to see if I saw a UFO. I wanted to be one of those special people. I just meditated one day, and it sparked something in me. And I kind of just went through a gradual change to the point where, yeah, to answer your question, where I see myself in 20 years is basically building myself to some extent where it'll trickle down into this reality where I'm not necessarily going by the system of hustle and bustle and hard work, is how you get all the money or whatnot. Because the energy that you're building is going to trickle down into this reality, into the point where it'll manifest into what you would consider real success. Because again, what success to you may mean one thing, to me it may mean another thing. To you, success may mean being a millionaire. Mine may be just being comfortable, but having something else that is more of value to me. You get what I'm saying? I'm not saying that's what it is, but
Yeah,
it's an example. So my where I see myself in 20 years is at the level of where I feel now, which is satisfaction, satiated, not feeling like I'm hungry for something because I didn't get fully satisfied, because I'm lacking something that didn't nourish me on a cellular level, because I'm nothing but a big bag of bacteria, and I'm trillions of sentient cells. And I want to make sure that in 20 years I have a complete connection with all these cells, to the point where I can say I turn on every single aspect of me and I become fully enlightened, to the point where I can say I am turned on to my fullest capacity. I am the supercomputer now operating this reality through this my spirit, which is basically how I'm going to be swimming in these chaotic waters. You know what I'm saying?
exactly. And so you just said, I used to look up at the stars and I wanted to be one of those special people.
Yeah.
Well, you've realized it to a certain extent now, but you still have more realizing to do. We all do. When we really do realize that we are the universe and there's nothing more special than God consciousness in the form of the human being, then that's when you will capitalize on what you are, and you will get out of bed like I do. Like all my videos, I'm always speaking about the awareness, gain the awareness, people, of what you actually are. You are God, and you should be grateful for every single second of this experience, because every second you are grateful for, that increases your longevity and your
Oh,
health and your beauty and all this sort of thing. The other
and
thing
that's why some people say, "Hey, you look so vibrant." You know what I'm saying? Because your vibration goes higher, and it actually seeps out through you. When you're sick, you could tell, yo, you don't look too well. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But when you're vibrant, it's because your vibration is high. You wake up like that, and it's like your whole day is like that. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. When I was 20 years old, on my 20th birthday, I was in this boozer with my best friends, and we were talking about, where we're going to be when we're 50 years old, and, how we're going to be. And we were speculating that we wouldn't be any different. And I said, well, in relation to what I want to get out of life, I would much rather be wealthy in mind and body than in
Inner
pocket.
peace.
And so what I've done is, you see, in the early days, Ziggy, I was chasing paper, and I earned a decent amount of money, and I had all the trappings of several properties and the big cars and all. I could buy anything I wanted to do. And
Amen.
I created a prison for myself, and I became a horrible person. I spent all that over this past
That's
15
why we're
years.
so much alike, because I was exactly in the same boat. That's why I said I was a different person. I was doing just that,
Yeah.
making a lot of money, and I was a horrible person, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then we realize along the journey that, we are this beautiful thing. We don't need to look out for any brilliant creature out in space. We are the brilliant creature. We look at this world. You see, the thing is, we're always looking out into the universe. Can we find another Earth? Can we find another Earth? And meanwhile, what we're doing is we're taking a dump in the oceans. We're taking a dump in the forest. We're ruining this beautiful fucking miracle. At the same time, whilst we're looking up for another place to go. Isn't it fucking crazy? If only we could all gain sentience like we have now, this world, we would realize that it's a sentient, beautiful, amazing creature, and we would love it in every single facet, and we'd work with it, and we'd never do any harm to it, and we'd all live in heaven. But the point is, we have been hijacked by some negative energy, and currently they've taken that away from us. It won't last forever, because the universe is going to be around here for a few more gazillion years, and so eventually we'll work it out. And a few fucking Zionistic Jews, goodness me, they'll all die of their own fucking virus sooner or later, and in 100 years it'll be somebody else's turn, because that's how this world works. It turns around. Whether the human being in its original form like this will be still around, who knows? But it's all going to change. And so if the universe is conscious like we believe it is, then if we look at what's come about now, is that the consciousness is growing in its complexity and its sophistication. And so whatever shape or form that takes on this earth, that's going to continue. whether the human being lives to see that or some other form. But this is, you see, once information has been manifest, it never goes away. It's always going to be here. It's in the Akasha. And so something else is going to be capitalizing on that. And it's like now, all the so-called geniuses, they think about things. It just came to them in a flash. Where did it come from? They picked it out the Akasha. It was already there because it had been put there by somebody else, something else on another occasion.
Right. And that's why, and those thought forms live through the person when they become a match. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's important. Look how important the now moment is. So like we talked about satisfaction. The satisfaction, if you're not satisfied, that means you're wanting something more. That means that in your now moment, you're not appreciating what you actually have right now. And that's what disempowers you to the fullest. Look, when I was in my garden, I was just sitting, I made a little patio section. I'm just sitting there and I'm looking up at the stars. You know what I'm saying? There was like an alien communication to me where I realized, this is why I said before, the skies look so clear that it was like a clear communication that I'm looking up at my brain. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm looking at the stars, all these little neurons. I'm looking at the moon. It's my pituitary gland. When I see the sun, it's my pineal gland. And there was clear skies, no brain fog. Because when somebody's got brain fog, they can't think straight because it's just so cloudy. That's why I said I'm looking up and I'm looking up at my head. And then there's certain moments where I'm in meditation and I'm in my heart space. I'm in my stomach. I'm in different places. You know what I'm saying? But it's like you'll have a certain level of experience because, again, certain places are just more acidic than others for that reason. Some would consider certain spots cooler, hotter, or maybe a different temperament. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I feel like when you really just travel the universe and just really see what it is that you're in, it's all you. Anything you're seeing outside of you is all already in you. Even this, you can get a something like, let's say a bird that just happened to poop right on your head, bro. You know what I'm saying? There's a meaning to that because it's all coming from you anyway. You know what I'm saying? And that shit happened to me already a few times.
Right. And so when you have children and, you know, that's a mini version of you, you have created out of the genius of you without really, you know, without even thinking about it, you've just done it. But when we apply our genius, our consciousness in like you're doing now, you're doing your own gardening, and there's certain things that has to come about before the universe can make its magic. And so what you do is then you get seeds and they're dried, or you get clippings from something else. You put them in a certain environment. You optimize that environment with the sunlight, with the water, with everything that's been blessed upon us. All you do is you put them in a certain order and then it flourishes. And so what we have to do is we have to put this and this in a certain order. When we put this in a certain order, this too will flourish. And
hey,
then
you know what else? You know what else needs to be put in a certain order? Like I said, that's why there's a difference between like fucking a girl, like having sex, or making love. Because when you're doing it from a heart space and you're actually creating that seed through the magic wand, what would the magic stick we want to call. Certain people are in such a lustful space, or even in a space. Let's say somebody may get a girl pregnant and they're cheating on their girl. You know what I'm saying? These are things that are in your mind as you're manifesting this seed and you're planting that seed into mother womb or the mother earth. Like it's the same thing. And a child could either ruin your life or he could change the world one way or another. But that's why certain things happen to the point where under certain programming, you know what I'm saying? Let's say I've never been the type that has been where, oh, a guy has to do everything, provide 100% in the household or whatnot. And then all of a sudden the girl breaks up with you and then you're on child support. You paid all the bills all those years and you still got to pay her even while you're not with her. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what the situations may be, which is another deep topic. And that's just my opinion. But at the end of the day, when you take the responsibility for how you're managing your energies, those things are not going to manifest in your reality to the point where you have, because you got to always take care of your creations. If you have a child, you're not just going to ignore that you had a child. You got to take care of that child. So yeah, the responsibilities are going to be there, but they're going to be under certain different circumstances. You're either going to be in child support or you're going to be enjoying your creations and, basically providing in a healthy way. You know what I'm saying? That's why I said the now moment and how you're doing things. It's the exact same way. When you're having a child, it's conscious creation. You're co-creating with somebody, but you can do it where you're doing it in a space of lust or lostness, and you bring that into this existence because it's all a thought form. I was thought into this existence. I was a thought form. You know what I'm saying? And then now I'm here. You know what I mean? And I don't know, maybe artificial intelligence comes online and that's how we become, because artificial intelligence can go into many different avenues too. We look at artificial intelligence as computers, but my body's doing things on its own. It's pumping blood. It's artificial intelligence, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? And I'm operating this vehicle that was created by me. You know what I'm saying? Some other space and time, I manifested myself into this through maybe I'm my parents. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? Because it's just like, oh, they're my mom and dad. Maybe I'm their mom and dad. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because my mom right now, if I was to talk to my mom, bro, I gotta literally have a little bit of patience with her because she's completely in a different realm, in a different world. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But yet I was born out of her based on a certain frequency. So how did I come online to completely be in another world now that she's in? You get what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, hopefully, how the universe works, that our prodigy, we pass the baton on to our prodigy to take things forward. And our prodigy is going to understand that particular epoch and environment to a greater extent. Because if all we were doing was producing the same mentality and same level of consciousness, then the universe wouldn't progress. And so
We
it's a
wouldn't be
natural
individual.
it's a natural form that we are not going to be able to really have this unity with our parents when we too evolve and become adults in our own right. It stands to reason that we would be like an alien to them because our consciousness needs to be more advanced. And so there's lots of people like this that can't communicate with their parents, and this whole thing about this is speeding up. Lots of people that I speak to, they have big issues with their parents because people, when they were born, say like 50 years before us, or maybe 20 years in some instances, well, they grew up in a different epoch and they're stuck to that epoch. They are bound into that epoch, whereas we are extended into another paradigm. It's kind of like what's happening now in the universe. We're leaving Pisces and we're heading into Aquarius. And so indigo children and all these sorts of things, they're being born with a higher level of consciousness, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it seems like genius to people born, 50 or 100 years ago. And so this is what has to happen. The universe is growing, consciousness is growing exponentially, and so we are going to be passing the baton on to somebody else who's going to take it even further than us. And so if we just have a certain resignation, the part we're actually playing, and this is the whole thing that this YouTube thing is helping me to learn, with all the varieties of different levels of consciousness, what's going on, which all pertains to one consciousness, but en masse, it is actually evolving. It can't devolve. Information can't disappear. And so the information is going to be there, whether the creatures that we're creating are going to be utilizing it in the positive way, that doesn't follow. And the universe isn't interested whether we're going to be using it in what we call a positive or a negative, because as far as the universe is concerned, it is both. And it's perfectly happy with the yin and the yang, because that's what it does. It creates. It doesn't have a horse in the race, whether we survive or not. And so, because all the nutrients and the molecules that we're made of, apparently in this dimension, will go back into the ground, and the earth and the universe will create something else, like dinosaurs, and maybe next time it's going to be alien greys and all this sort of stuff. So in a nutshell, then, just to sort of leave this conversation with something that we're happy with, to realize what we are, to realize that we are the all, the be all and the end all, because we are conscious, and everything that we see and perceive pertains to our consciousness. Because if we didn't have consciousness, then nothing could be perceived. Maybe the universe, I believe the universe is conscious, so it's conceiving whatever it is in its own way. You see, a fly perceives the world through its own consciousness, as well as a beetle, as well as a giraffe, as well as a hippopotamus. All these different things, they're all living in different universes, on different worlds, in different environments. Everything, every single human being is living actually in a different world. It's your world. It's your conscious environment that your mind is creating based on the experience that you've had all of your life, genetics that you've had, and the disposition that you have, many different things. So the uniqueness of that is absolutely incredible and genius. So we should embrace that. We should love that. We should cherish that. And we should be very mindful of every single second ticking by, that this life, you might just find one day that it's really quite short.
Yeah. And you know what? Actually, I want to touch up on something real quick. And I agree with everything you said, by the way. So, you know how we talked about everything is energy. So let's say, for example, I was born into this system and there was a certain vibrational state. Let's say, for example, throughout the years, because we live in a chakra every year to some extent, as they say, which I'm not too sure of, but as they say.
Hmm.
So there's always certain epochs, like you said, there's different eras. You know what I'm saying? You can become, let's say, a frequency match to ride that wave or be left behind. So for example, my mom drinks a lot of beer. You know what I'm saying? She's still the same she's always been. You know what I'm saying? Never changed. Me, I could say you changed from the moment you were at one point. If you're changing, that means you're riding different waves of energy. It could be a higher vibrational wave or a lower vibrational wave. It's just how you would perceive it and how you're feeling. Because others may perceive something bad that you may be perceiving as good because you feel good doing it. You get what I'm saying? So let's say, for example, if I become aware or based on like my body coming online to some extent, based on a frequency, because we're all, see, the chakra systems. That's why I say energy is important. Our own energy and cultivating our energy and basically protecting our energies is knowing ourselves first. That's basically knowing how you can protect your energies, like you protect your bank account to some extent because you're accountable for your actions. But the whole point is that if you have your chakra systems, they go from the root all the way up to the crown chakra. It's all in your spine. You have two fluids. They call it the land of milk and honey. You got the cerebral spinal fluid that goes up and down. That, if you look at the word spine, it looks like it's interchangeable with the word penis because the same fluid that goes up and down your spine is what comes out of your penis when you're procreating. You know what I'm saying? So that's that fluid. People actually drain it out, always jerking off or having constant sex or whatnot, which is basically creative spaces coming from the sacral plexus chakra. That's why I said there's a time and a place for everything. Where as far as like we could look at it from a sacred space, we have sacred energy that we're supposed to be protecting versus the energy that we use out here to express ourselves. So if I'm going to sleep and I wake up, I'm perceiving my world based on the capacity of energy that I have to project this reality as far as how expanded my awareness and consciousness is, which takes energy. If somebody's drained out, they're very narrow minded or very simple minded. They're not generating all that energy to turn on all the other systems, which is why I said that anything that you are intaking, anything you're intaking is affecting how it is having your organs emit that frequency, because emit backwards is time. Your heart rate beats, the clock ticks, you slow your heart rate down because you're in a meditative state, you're slowing down time and you're basically anti-aging. But when you're stressed out, it changes your heart rate frequency. Heart and earth is an anagram for each other. They're both green. Mother Earth is green. And then when you're stressed out, you're speeding up. That's where you start to die. But when you fast, notice how you speed other systems up. Your computer starts to speed up because you're not taking in these chemicals. Your body is actually always detoxing. And if you're able to detox these chemicals enough, and then to some extent, not just fasting, but ingesting things that are of a higher conductivity, there's a chemical reaction that electrically turns certain things on. I've had these realizations just like I said, when I was by myself, just listening in nature. There's something very special about just walking in nature that really does things to you. You know what I'm saying? Like you, no headphones, no telephone, like nothing. Just listen to birds and some, you know what I'm saying? The trees is that's all pheromones, frequency and vibration that's really flourishing around, and it's all talking to you. But you see, people always want that communication in a language form, which is not going to come in that form. It's going to come in a different form that people have to be able to decipher, but it's going to come through that expanded level of.
Well, I believe in the Japanese philosophy of chi,
Yeah,
emitted from trees, and I absolutely know that when I get involved in nature, and I'm addicted to nature, and I have to go out and be under the sun in the presence of trees, listen to the birds for a certain portion of my day, and basically it's kind of like this graveyard that I go to. I will go there, I'll sit there, walk around, or stand there. Whatever I'm doing is like I've just plugged in my charger to Mother Earth, and I have to stay there until I know that my charge is fully full. And then it's kind of like I'm waiting and waiting. I'm not ready to go yet. I'm not ready to go yet. Then all of a sudden, after half an hour or something more, I'll know then I'm ready to go because I feel completely saturated and satiated for today. And so I would think then that that's also one of the things that I attribute to my well-being. That's my food. That's where I get my food from, and not necessarily through the fats and the sugars.
Well, this is the thing. That's why I said, like, and then you go to sleep, you are able to process what you absorb through the day. And that's why all these your brain works so beautifully. You
And
know
the
what I'm saying?
sunlight.
Exactly. Those are light codes. I mean, you're processing it, but then that's what I'm saying. Like, you're processing it, and you're able to read that information a certain way. It's lighting things up within you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I see how you got a lot to say too, man. I got a lot to say, but you make videos. I can see everything that you're saying, and I'm like, wow, man. It's like very few people would actually come out with so much to give out, but it's all the information you're processing, and you have to, because you're expanding, you got to contract. You know what I'm saying? And that's the important part. Now, how you process it, of course, certain people may not even be able to read it because they're not of that frequency. You know what I'm saying? If you're in a space where you're in the air elements and you're listening to the trees, that's a certain element that you're absorbing. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like sometimes you got to ground that energy in order, because me, for example, I feel like when I'm way too freaking high, then I'm all over the place. I got to be able to ground that energy so that I can channel it in a clear communication with somebody. You know
What
what I'm
what
saying?
birth
'Cause sometimes
sign
I'm all
are
over
you?
the place.
What
Huh?
birth sign are you? What birth sign are you?
I'm Aries.
I was just going to say you Aries, and that's the classic trait for Aries. They're all over the place. They've got an enormous amount of energy, and they find it very, very difficult to channel in one particular thing. And
Right.
and so always fingers in pies and all that sort of thing. You see, Rachel, my twin flame, she's an Aries, and that's how she is. She's electric. She's all over the fucking place, and like a satellite, I've always called her. um uh, I'm pretty well a sedentary person these days. I had an enormous amount of energy when I was younger, but now I've realized that I don't need to expire my energy in experiencing the world. I'm experiencing God consciousness.
Yeah.
And all I need to do now is just to stare and just to be present. And that will give me more information, more of a download than traveling around Australia would do.
Right.
Because when I was younger, I never had that level of perception. I never had that level of absorption of the information. So therefore, I needed to rush from one place to the next, to the next, to the next, and do all these incredible things to get satiated. But now I'm just satiated because I'm a portal to the universe.
Right.
And so it's all flowing through me. And so it's curious you should say that. And so therefore then we look at, well, what's all that about? How can the particular astrological sign or time that we're born within have an effect on us? But it does, doesn't it?
It's different points. That's why when I can say, oh, I see your point of view, is that you're born in a certain position and a space and time. You know what I'm saying? Which is outside of space and time. You have a certain perception. You know what I'm saying? And we're able to share our spaces. And then that's where we come to certain realizations, because I'm born in a certain space and time, and then you are, and then I can see where you're coming from. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like, I see your point of view. You know what I'm saying? I see where you're coming from, and then can you see where I'm coming from? I'm over here in this point. That's why I feel like, look, this is how I've been gaining new experiences on a daily basis. And I feel like everything is always new, is because you see the level of curiosity that certain people go into to have an out of body experience or a lucid dream. They're like in a wonderland. They're like, wow, but then I do that in this reality, and I'm able to constantly always experience that, but it keeps my vibration higher. So that
Yeah.
if I do go into that space of God consciousness, I'm able to be in a satisfied, good space where I feel good. You know what I'm saying? It's all about how I feel again, because it's my world. Your world is in your world. I'm in your world. You're in my world right now. I mean, we're basically sharing a space right now from how many miles away, but we're still in the same space right now. I feels like I'm talking to you right in front of me. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy how we use the technology to our advantage, but that's us using our own technology. When I'm able to perceive my reality and say, man, I got to go to different places to just say, man, I'm excited. The same excitement I would feel going into an astral realm. It's basically how I am perceiving it. Even though it seems like it's so far-fetched, it's really not. I could just close my eyes And based on what I process through the day, I can basically have that experience within me any way I want. You know what I'm saying? I could be whatever I want. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I created all this. All this, whether it's religion or superheroes. Dude, I had a dream. This was, I think, one of the best dreams I had. I dreamt I was Batman. Now, the funny thing is that I'm like flying through the whole city and I'm like real aware in this dream. And I'm trying to chase Superman for some reason. And he keeps like beaming down my back claw and I can't reach him. But then I go down to the ground and I got all these bad guys like attacking me and I'm literally feeling the blows they're hitting me. But I'm fucking them up. It's just that when I'm putting my focus on Superman, they just get some hits on me.
Right.
I don't know, but I felt like that dream was just so exciting. But I remember that I was just playing with my son. Basically, I have the Hellbat, and he's got Superman, and basically we are literally like we're fighting, but he gets mad because he thinks that he's supposed to always win, and I get mad at him because I feel like, you know what I'm saying. But it's like that's why I told him, I was like, you got to play with your own toys because I'm not letting your fucking character beat mine. It's like we get into that war, and that's the importance of sometimes playing with ourselves is because sometimes when we try to play with others, we can't play with others in the simple fact that we want our character to succeed. You get what I'm saying? And I went into that realm and Superman was blowing my shit away, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
I
that's
don't even know if
incredible.
that even makes any sense now, but it's like,
Well,
whatever,
no,
bro.
yeah, it makes perfect sense because you're acting it out in one world with your son, and then you're
Right.
acting it out in another world, in your unconscious, and so it's a beautiful thing because yes, we do need to do this level of playing all the time. The psychologist Carl Jung, during the spate of depression, he was heavily depressed for about 4 years of his life, and so he went into this period whereby for about 2 years he was just playing like a kid in a sandpit. He built a
Yeah.
sandpit and he bought some cars and all this sort of thing, and he was going back to his youth and he was doing the roads, the tunnels, and the buildings and all that sort of thing because he realized that there's a certain part of him which was still a child and it needed nurturing. And so, when we get too serious, then we can be torn away from certain facets that need nurturing. And so this is why I have an acute eye on all of these varieties of energies within me. And I service them all as best I can by allocating my time to them throughout my day. And so I have the musician inside me, so that needs servicing. Then there's the sports person that needs servicing. Then there's the naturalist that needs servicing. Then there's the philosopher that needs servicing, and then there's the psychologist, and that doesn't. So I'm kind of like, this is probably why I don't sleep that much because, as soon as I get out of bed, I put the kettle on, make a cup of coffee, I sit down, and I open my book. Within 10 minutes, and then I'll read for the next 2 hours because that beautiful level of calmness in the morning is completely quiet around here. And because I'm so sedentary, I'm in a meditation. I can concentrate heavily on the information that I'm receiving. I can be completely dedicated to it without rushing it or finding resentment to it because, I want to go to the gym, I want to play my guitar or something like this. Make sure you have the time, because if you don't give time to the energies which are within you, then one of them is going to get pissed off and it's going to end up getting angry. It's going to end up throwing a spanner in the works. It's going to end up upsetting the rest of them. And then before you know it, you'll discover that something's going wrong in your life. So realize what needs nurturing. And this is the conversation I have with Rachel. We have all these very deep and philosophical conversations, and I've observed the small child in her, this
Yeah.
particular little girl that just is obstinate, wants it all her own way, wants the attention, this, that, and the other, and she needs that, and she has to do it, and she doesn't have any say in it. Her body as a thing doesn't have any say in that energy. It's coming forward about every 3 or 4 days. If she suppresses it, okay, she can suppress it for 1, 2, 3 days, 4 days maximum, but then it's coming out and then it's going to be completely unruly. It's going to drink too much, it's going to talk too much, and all this sort of thing. And so we've got to learn about these things within us and give them an opportunity. And when you know yourself, you go, okay, the little girl's going to come out, let's go to a zoo, let's go to a fun park, let's go to a party, let's do something whereby she can have expression, and then we'll get back to business.
Well, that's why I feel like we were meant to play in this realm. You know what I'm saying? It's not to live a rigid lifestyle because that's the balance between right and left brain. See, we're in our right brain, right? For the first 7 years, we're like more in our subconscious than anything else. Kind of like the recorder. We're basically absorbing our reality. But notice how at a certain point in time, we're told that that's not correct. When age is nothing but a number. Somebody gets old because they think that they're old. You know what I'm saying? When in actuality, I could be 90 and still, you know, have sex like a porn star. But the whole point is that we're programmed to believe that at a certain age, we start to slow down, we start to do certain things differently. See, the childlike imagination, it's all suppressed at a certain age and then it gets pushed to the side. They tell us, don't dream, don't daydream. That's not reality. That's what gets pushed to the side. That's why that little kid in you gets suppressed and it wants to play. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I've realized that having my son, he's not teaching me anything because kids are dumb as rocks. You know what I'm saying? He's more showing me something and showing me something about me every time that I have an interaction with him. It's a very amazing experience as to, you know, I say to myself, this came out of me and it's expressing itself now in a way where it's showing me something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, man. And just because I don't want to put him in my world, I'm going to go into his world. I've been in my world for too many years. Let me go into his world and experiment to see what happens. And fuck, man, did I get some realizations just fucking experiencing him, because it's an experience. I told you, I'm experiencing the individuals I hang out with, including my family members, my mom, whoever. My son, man, that's a world in and of itself. You know what I'm saying? Especially with the energy he has. I'm glad I can fuck with him because, dude, I mean, that's the point of having that energy, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta have that energy. It's like but divert it to the right place to be able to have that interaction and that experience, and set aside time for yourself as well, because it's not about you setting your time and just all focus on them. It's basically what you process there. I processed it and I had a dream where I'm dead ass. I had the fucking best dream ever. That was a great fucking, I woke up happy that I was back and I was like, it was like such an adventure, bro.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? I processed that. That's why I said, when you live your life and you process certain things in a healthy way, they will show you certain things. And it's basically, there's no limitations. When you close your eyes, I can close my eyes right now and just fly away anywhere I want. But that's why my son goes, Papa, but if I'm Superman, how come I can't fly? Look, he's showing me he can't fly. I'm like, because right now you're Clark Kent, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're here in this realm. This realm is the realm of infinite possibilities, but you're Clark Kent. You got to hold your secret. You can't be telling people you're Superman right now. You know what I'm saying? When you close your eyes, you're doing this. Now you can go fly. And then I was like, close your eyes. Can you see yourself flying? He's telling me, yeah, I'm flying through the buildings right now. And he's got his eyes closed. And believe it or not, he told me one time that he went to bed and he dreamt about it. But it's living proof that you can do it. And if you could consciously do it, like focus on it, because there's people who would literally have an intent before they go to bed to try to get out of body, you know what I'm saying, or to try to have a lucid dream. You know, it's all programmed because your body is like a programmable machine. But it becomes very hard to really reach that space because there's no spark. And I feel like that's the spark within you that needs to be turned on based on what you're processing through your day, including the foods that, and I'm not going to get into that discussion with you again, but that's why I say the food matters to that extent, because there's certain foods that don't chemically agree on the chemistry of your body. Kind of like, that's why I want you to look up the difference between the B12s that they sell in GNC to the B12s that are actually on the ground, and how that affects you if you're eating it through meat sources rather than getting it organically through certain way. Where if I'm growing my garden, I'm pulling it out and I'm getting the probiotics from the soil. That's the bacteria that I'm talking about. But people are compartmentalizing it to A, B. It's like an isolate. Don't isolate it. There's like a whole universe in and of itself. If I pull something out of the soil and I eat it without freaking cleaning it out, I'm eating the probiotics and the minerals from the soil. Iron, for example, not the iron they give you in cereal, which is all metals. I'm talking about iron from the soil, because there's iron. If you mix it with other elements, it turns to rust. It's steel now.
Yeah, well, if you have like quarter teaspoon of healthy soil each day, then that's all the microbes that you're ever going to want. Probably, you know, for a week. That it's the natural earth. You know,
Right.
But you see, what we've been told to do is to clean everything, scrub everything,
Exactly.
because they
Exactly.
know they don't want us to have these fucking microbes, and they want us to have genetic stuff which is devoid of all the microbes. So there is a very, very sinister thing going on, and in any shape or form, they're trying to keep us from realizing our consciousness and our higher selves. You see, when we actually set our minds to being like God, then we can discover that we are, in actual fact, God.
Right.
And when I decided that I wanted to astral project, I trained doing that for 150 hours. and it was an enormous amount of time. It entailed an enormous amount of dedication to lie absolutely still without
Focus.
blinking, swallowing, scratching, twitching, anything. You learn a whole lot about your body and your mind
Yeah.
when you do this. And eventually I left the body. And
Yeah.
so this is an incredible thing, you see, because I read the Emerald tablets of Hermes Trismegistus, and on the fourth tablet, he was speaking about when you become very, very still, you'll experience other worlds. And so it was mention of a great vibration, and then you'll enter into other worlds. And I thought that sounds like astral projection to me. And so I was looking into all this sort of stuff. And of course it was, lo and behold. And so we can enter into these other worlds. We can do lots of stuff. And of course, psychedelics are kind of like they're a shortcut for many of these experiences. And so to get back into deep meditation with a consistent relationship with the self that nurtures the whole mind and the body into holistic health out in nature, then those two things coupled together, I'm pretty sure, like me, you can eat within reason whatever you want to. Now, I mean, I say I eat whatever I want to, but I want to eat healthy. You know, I
Right.
do eat meat. I eat quite a lot of fatty meat. I like the fatty meat, pork chops, lamb chops. And, you know, I'll have a bit of chocolate now and again. And sometimes I'll go for 6 months without eating any cheese. But then for like 2 weeks or a month, I'll buy it. But then I'll be off it again. You know, I just need to satiate. There's facets within me that need satiating because they've become a part of me all my life. And if we've grown up on a certain cuisine, we're never ever going to get rid of that craving, are we? And so you have to satiate it from time to time. Otherwise, you'll be disgruntled and you'll be craving for something. You won't be satisfied. You'll be overeating in something else because you want that fat and you want that salt and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. And besides, you're like I told you before, your body's gonna have a lot more to work with. You want to welcome the huge ecosystem in there. Somebody who stops eating meat for a long time, they go back to eating meat, they're gonna get very sick, right? So
I don't
that's why
know.
I'm saying, like, huh?
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. If somebody stops eating meat for a while and they go back to eating that, their body's not going to be used to that meat. They're going to
Mm,
get a real bad stomach ache.
right.
And it's just basically letting your body, like, if I don't eat cheese for a while, I can go back to eating it later on. You know what I'm saying? But everything is always going to be in moderation anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Just looking at the time, it's 3 hours now.
Man, it didn't even feel like 3 hours. I mean, actually, I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, this was a really, really good chat. That's why it didn't even feel like it was 3 hours. And I like the fact that we can cover so much ground on so many different things in such little time because there's really so much to talk about, man. It's like, it's endless. You know what I'm saying?
And
Um,
we didn't even talk about really the subjects that we wanted
yeah,
to talk about because, you know, thing like you say, it's all endless. And so this is the beauty of it. And so, you know, we'll have another chat, you know, whenever we're ready. And maybe we can touch on those things. I wanted to know what your relationship is with friends and family and neighbors and what their perspective is coming from the American culture. And then, you know, I can convey mine, what little there is, and this sort of thing, you know, because I want to sort of get some sort of an idea, because the difficulty is I'm not a very social person, as you know, and so I don't see ground root stuff really. When we watch the news, you know, some clips from Trump, it's all superficial, it's all theatre. And if we're not careful, we'll think that that's the world when it actually isn't. Because when you speak to people in the street and when you go walking down the street, well, in England, there's hardly anybody really wearing masks and things like that. And yet when you see Trump come to speak on the podium and he's got like 12 doctors behind him and they've all got a mask on and they all put their hands clasped together like this and stand there like fucking robots, and you think, come on, what the fuck are you guys selling?
yeah,
You
yeah,
fucking wankers. Honestly, it's all a fucking charade. And so when people, you see, this is the difficulty. People are hypnotized by that shit.
right.
They watch it every single day. They think that is the world. That isn't the world. Go out into the street and you'll see it isn't the world, fucking, you know,
Yeah,
people. Go into a small village and this, that, and the other. And so, yeah, you know, the charade that's coming over the world And there's a lot of people out there now, very, very sensible, intelligent people. They are taking countries and governments to court over this bullshit. There's going to be huge companies like airlines and all this sort of thing taking governments to court, and there is legitimate reprisal and redress to have, and governments are going to be sued for fucking millions because it can actually be proven to be a fraud.
Well, here's the thing. So, for example, the mask situation, I don't wear masks at all. So, I'm from New York. You know what I'm saying? There's different ethnic groups and whatnot, and I grew up with certain Indian people or Chinese people, and they have this culture where you can't wear shoes in their house. So, I look at it like this: if it's a private business, let's say a private organization, and these people are so dumb that they think they're gonna get sick because I don't wear a mask, then in situations like that, like where you said you put it on for 10 minutes to get a haircut, I will respectfully put it on the same way I would take my shoes off in somebody's house. I'm not going to be like, no, I'm not going to take my shoes off. You know what I'm saying? They're welcoming me into their house. I'm going to take it off. But if I'm going into a corporation such as Walmart or Target or, you know what I'm saying, or any supermarket, they tell me, hey, you're supposed to wear a mask. And I say, nah, I'm not. I don't say I have a health condition. This is what I say, because I don't want to subconsciously put mantras negatively on me.
Yeah.
That's what I say. I don't wear them for health reasons. And in their mind, they think I'm saying that I have a health condition, but I don't have a health condition.
Yeah, just say you're medically exempt.
Yeah, I just say for health reasons, I don't wear them. My health reasons, if they ask me, are I don't want to breathe in my own CO2. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm not creating an acidic environment in my body. They look away the other way. They can't even say shit to you. No. But if it's a privately owned business, they can tell you to do that, and they can refuse business because they can actually call the police for trespassing, let's say, because it's a private business. So if I'm going into somebody's house, they can call the cops on me, and I'm not allowed in their house. A public corporation, I can refuse to put a mask on because that corporation is basically funded by me. You know what I'm saying? I'm the one giving them the business to keep that operation going. Now, the small businesses or private businesses, those people they're just ignorant. You know what I'm saying? They can basically close down
and
whatever,
so that they can have whatever house rules they want. And if they want to turn your business away, then that's their prerogative. It's their property. They own it, or they're paying rent on it. And if you're not complying, then they can ask you to leave. And so, fair enough. So then we have a choice whether we want to go in, like I did with the hairdresser. There's no other hairdresser that cuts my hair like that in the vicinity. So I'm thinking 10 minutes, I won't fucking bother about that. And so, but next time then we can have a good chat. And of course, there'll be more
Let me just throw this part in, because most of them have LLCs. So let's say if you wanted to sue those small businesses, you'd be suing the LLC anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like the big corporations, I know they got whatever backup they have going, but they're actually a little more self-sustained. But if you sue them, it's just a bigger problem for that company rather than the smaller companies. You know what I'm saying? But basically the reason I even mentioned that is because the mass situation is, you could change your perspective on a lot of things. I know you asked me about my neighbors and whatnot. Something weird is going on for some reason. Like, I am a social person. I say hi to everybody. I don't give a shit. But for some reason, I don't know what's going on with my neighbors sometimes. Like, they'll say hi sometimes they don't. One time I'm like, saying to my neighbors, hey, what's up? And completely ignored me. And I had a long conversation with them, let's say 2 days ago. And then sometimes they'll say hi, sometimes, it's like they have bad days, or I can look at it as a bad thing and just say, fuck them. Now I'm not going to say hi to them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm going to maintain my neutrality in the point where I say to myself, maybe there's certain sources of something going on within me where I need to communicate with an aspect of myself that's being ignored, let's say. You know what I'm saying? Because everything that I project outside, and it could be something where I can decide to feed into it and engage into it, but I decide not to engage in that. I just stay neutral and be like, when he says hi, he says hi. If he doesn't say hi, he doesn't say hi. Not my problem. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? But I can get offended and be like, fuck you. Why didn't you say hi to me? You left me with my hand up in the air. You know what I'm saying? Or you left me with my hand sticking out. So it's basically, that's what I'm talking about. Certain energy protection and whatnot is just not getting so offended, because it's an emotional game. That's why people say mind your business. If you're minding your business, because this realm is fed on your emotions. And if you get emotional about all this type of shit, it's just like, that's where your energy is going. You know what I'm saying? And then you're drained at the end of the day and not know why. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And the thing is then, just to finally finalize this, people are very, very complex, and we can never be that smart that we can read a person's mind. And so we can't ever assume why a person's not speaking to us.
Right.
And it's like Russell Brand did a video in recent times, and he's talked about do you ever feel like you've been ghosted when you send somebody an email or you send them a tweet or something and they don't get straight back to you like this, or even 12 hours goes by and you still your WhatsApp message hasn't been opened, and then you start thinking, oh, fucking fuck this and fuck that, maybe it's because I said something, or maybe it's because this, maybe they fucking died, maybe they're lying on the hospital, intensive care. We've got no idea why. We can only hazard guesses, and generally what we're going to do, we're going to guess in the negative. So it's best really not to get involved in this. Keep an open mind. When we see them again, we can inquire. I sent you a tweet a week ago. Did you get it? Oh yeah, I got it, but I had to take my dog to the vet. You see,
Yeah.
chances are you was in internal dialogue, motherfucker. I'm not sending him anymore, and all this sort of thing. So next time you see your neighbor, say hi. And if they speak to you, then maybe they'll say, "Oh, sorry, I didn't. I had lots on my mind." And maybe it's even
I got into a fight with his wife.
yeah, of course. Or maybe they've been watching some Trump shit and they're even more terrified. And they notice that you're not wearing a mask, and then they're thinking that you're one of these that's spreading the lurgy around. A whole myriad of stuff, mate. And so I think all this thing at this moment in time is the greatest lesson on earth to exercise patience with one another, and to be more present and increase our level of awareness.
Absolutely.
And do a lot of observing before we do too much talking.
It's not to jump the gun, not to jump the gun and be quick, because that's the emotional and rational mind. The emotional mind always kicks in first, and then you make an action, and then afterwards the rational mind kicks in, and then you feel guilty, and then that's where, how they say only God can judge me, and then that's you literally feeling guilty, judging yourself. That's where you end up fucking yourself up, because you shouldn't have took that action if you did have that proper connection between emotional and rational mind.
Yeah, and so we just need a little bit more wisdom. We need to be more calm, and we need to lose this facet of the ego, which thinks that everything's about us. How they're thinking about me and why they're talking about me. Hang on, you don't even exist, to be fair. You're just a whole conglomerate of fucking ideas, aren't you?
You know what, though? To conclude, I want to finish off with this, because this is actually where I want to actually make sure I solidify this too. Right. Because this is important, and it's something I've actually came to a lot of realization of. But the natural sounds of the universe, we would say is 528, 432 or whatnot. These are distorted through certain, because everything can be manipulated through frequency.
The Schumann resonance is 7.8 hertz, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. So how we have everything is basically manipulated through frequencies. Mm-hmm. And if you're bombarded with certain heavy metals and whatnot, you're like an antenna, kind of distorts what you could be receptive to or whatnot. Now, the media, the news, there's frequencies playing in the background through color schemes also, and certain things that actually
subliminal messages and hypnosis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's the spelling happening through subliminal messaging. There's the color scheme, and then there's a vibration behind that whole thing that's happening that's not heard by the human ear, but it's actually affecting you. Now, the reason I say why it's important to keep these organs intact within you is because if there's a distortion, then you become a frequency match to a distorted energy. Or let's say, for example, they talk about the virus being a man-made virus. The more unnatural man-made shit you ingest, whether it be information through your ears, your mouth, or whatever it may be, which is made in a laboratory, then you're more susceptible to something that's man-made. If it was man-made, to me, a virus is a frequency. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And you're becoming a frequency match to that by wearing a mask. You put yourself in a creating a perfect acidic environment within your body to attract that virus.
Lowering your frequency.
Right. And you lower your frequency. And how do you even further lower your vibration is through the fear of getting sick, which shuts your immune system down, and you become a frequency match to that before anything else. Because don't give me that bullshit that a virus is going to fucking protect you. A mask is going to protect you from the virus that literally can. I've seen people who are wearing the mask and it's like halfway falling off. Like, what are you wearing the mask for? You know what I'm saying? So it's all ideas and it's all thought viruses. It all starts from a thought virus. Like I said before, if somebody tells you cancer runs in the family, you're more susceptible to getting it because you're accepting that into your reality and whatnot. But if you're able to know what Tesla said, if you want to know the keys to the universe, think of energy, frequency, and vibration, which goes over people's heads. You're a vibrational being. You emit a frequency, and you're like an antenna where you'll emit that. You'll become a frequency match to what it is that you emit, or the vibrational state of being that you're in. A lot of people want to protect their state that they're in, or their country and whatnot. That's you. The state is your state of being. Because I was one state of being in New York, and I come down here and there's more nature. and I am around certain things where I'm not as stressed out to having to walk 9 blocks to my car. I don't have to walk through a hallway, go up an elevator to get to my, I could just come in and out of my house just as easily as just walking outside. You know what I'm saying? It's a
Yeah.
state of being. I
Yeah.
changed my state of being by changing my state. Sometimes changing your state
Uh,
may make a difference and it may not, because sometimes if you're not changing your frequency or vibration, it doesn't matter what state of being you're in, you're going to still be in a fucked up state. So it all starts from you. But if you can become a match to the environment, or you get what I'm saying? Like, it's just
Oh,
something that makes
absolutely. You know, the environment, going from the concrete jungle into a real jungle, there is a
yeah,
massive transition in the
absolutely.
vibration and the health aspects of it, and you feel it in an instant. And so, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm going to send you a couple of video links
Yeah.
that you'll find very interesting. One is called "What's the Scariest Thing," and it's by a company called Vsauce,
Okay.
and it's about 50 minutes long, and it's talking about what the scariest thing is, but there's a very, very poignant ending to it which will blow your socks off. And bear in mind that this video was created about 2016, so
Mm.
long before current times. And then I'll send you another video in relation to doctors and virologists pointing out exactly clearly what this so-called virus thing is. And so I'll bang those over to you later on this evening, and then we'll be in touch, mate. And so just, you know, keep doing what you keep doing, keep vibrant, healthy, and keep in the state of realization that you are God.
The more you upgrade, the more I upgrade. That's how I look at it. Everybody, if everybody else is doing the work and upgrading, then I'm upgrading myself too. You know what I'm
It,
saying?
it is
It's
at the
just
end of
a healthy relationship, to be in, whether you're in another country or not. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
We still have a connection somehow. You get
yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
There's no accident we're talking. So this was a great chat though. I mean, I'm really it's a motivating chat. You know what I'm saying? I like to feel a lot of energy after a talk because it feels like I got nourished with good stuff. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Which I'm sure you do too.
yeah,
That was my
exactly.
intent.
We get satiated, you know, from these levels of, you know, interaction, because we're nurturing these certain facets of us which need this nurturing. I mean, I guess we both do our channels because of this. We want to attract, you know, like minds and people. And I see that you have Zoom sessions with other people and this, that, and the other, and I do, you know, my fair share as well. And so, yeah, well, I mean, I'd love to do it again. And so we'll give it a few weeks, and then we'll, you know, get bang at it again then.
Yeah, hit me up anytime, man. If you want to do another chat, I mean, like I said, there's a lot to talk about, and it's always good to just communicate and connect a lot of stuff within us. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to
Yeah,
just,
so I think in about 4 weeks,
yeah,
then I'll hit you up again. I've got one tomorrow, and then another two this week. It's quite a busy week, and you know, when we're talking
that's
about
good.
2 or 3 hours a time, it gets pretty tiring. And I like to sing as well, and so my voice gets pretty shredded. So yeah, you know, just keeping that level of contact and vibration, and the energy permeating, you know, because it's going to make a difference. The more of us that do this, the energy is going out into the ether. Like you say, we're going to be exhibiting this level of vibration. It's going to make this difference. And so,
Yeah,
woo.
sounds good, man. Hey, if you want to send me, I'll post this on my channel too, if anything, so that this way, I think this was a pretty informative talk. So
Yeah, I'll send it you by Sprend. Yeah.
yeah, sounds good.
Okay, cool. Cheers again.
All right, brother.
See
Have
you
a good
later.
one, man.
Bye,
Thank you.
mate. Ba, 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 da, ba, ba.